Can you guys believe we're past week 10 and that
No.
there's only 4 weeks left of the regular season before playoffs start?
For fantasy.
Yeah,
For
for
Yeah.
fantasy.
yeah.
Yeah,
Wait.
yeah,
We're
that
4 weeks
is
out from playoffs.
not
Yeah,
from fantasy
you
playoffs. Yeah,
got from fantasy playoffs
one month from fantasy
Obviously.
playoffs.
because we got week 11 this upcoming week, and then week 14 is when is like
So that's
the
4 weeks to get your
chaos
shit
week.
together, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay,
Trade
cool. Well,
deadline's coming up. It's the first time that we've done a trade deadline in a dynasty format.
Wait, we have a trade deadline?
yes,
Yeah.
we do. Week
I
12.
I've been
forgot about
thinking
that.
about it, and I was wondering like if that even makes sense because of the format. Because it's not like redraft where it's like you trade away all your players and you don't care. It's like you have the same guys that you have during the off season every year. So
The one
it
thing
was
I
just
would say
something I was
about it,
thinking about.
one thing I would say about like that is it avoids tanking for the
For the
the toilet
playoffs.
bowl.
Yeah,
Like if you want the number one pick, the best way to do it would be to get into the toilet bowl and then send all your good players just out and collect as many picks as soon as you know.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, is that really a bad thing when somebody may want to trade and win the
monopolize the whole
championship?
draft.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
what I'm saying.
And
Like
win the championship.
if for example, Trevor's in a position where he's like, I'm a running back away, like I'm a Jonathan Taylor away or whatever from winning the
Yeah,
championship.
or like
And I'm like,
imagine I lose.
can I
I
trade
lose Kirk
a
Cousins.
25 first for it? Yeah, sure.
If I lose
sure.
Kirk Cousins 2 weeks from now, how much more devastating that would have been.
right.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the argument for doing it, like for making trades before the deadline. This is like
Well,
this is to avoid the tanking. This is avoiding tanking
I
once
think
you know you're in it.
in redraft, the trade deadline kind of prevents collusion to a degree. Like that's kind of the point, is to prevent the team that's like got 1 or 0 wins on the season from trading away like Amon-Ra St. Brown to the guy who has all the good players the week of the playoffs.
In
The
many ways,
championship.
doing a fuck Adam.
Yeah.
Like we did that one year.
I had nothing to do with that. Yeah,
I did.
That
one
was
year.
fucked up,
It
Steve.
was definitely me.
Yeah, that was before you had any sense.
It was like my second year playing fantasy, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you came after you did that. You realized like, oh yeah, that's why collusion is a.
That's why this is not allowed.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think that's something to consider. And then the other thing that I wanted to put to a vote in the off season was changing the rules for the draft order to max points for, as opposed to the reverse standings of the consolation or the toilet bowl, I should say, or not reverse. It would be the order of the standings,
The
right?
standings of the toilet.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you do max points for, which you can see in Sleeper, in the mobile version only, it's basically your points scored if you'd played an optimal lineup every week, which prevents people from tanking by taking players out of their starting lineup who are good. Like say you have like a Kill Walker or a Bijan Robinson or whatever, and instead you put in like Chase Edmonds or like some waiver wire trash running back that's projected to score 2 points, and then put your good guys on the bench. That prevents people from tanking that way, because that does nothing for you, because the max points for system includes the points from your bench in your max points for totals. So the only way to effectively get a higher draft pick is to trade away assets that are proven commodities for draft capital. So
who needs a QB? You were saying someone needed a QB earlier.
Oh, so before we hopped on, Joe and I were talking about how he's got Aaron Rodgers just clogging an IR spot on his bench, or basically in his IR, and he was saying that had he been playing, like it's unlikely that someone would actually want to pick him up anyway, because
No, I don't know who
so many
has
people
IR slots.
have.
I have 6 people on fucking IR.
Right, right. So he was saying, I could probably just drop him, but like who would pick him up? And then so we were looking at the league and seeing who would actually be kind of quarterback needy, and we were thinking like,
who would pick Aaron Rodgers?
like maybe Casey, because like he's the only one who's got big question marks at quarterback, because like all the guys that he has are in weird situations.
Yeah,
And it's like maybe Will Levis will be his starter next year, but it's like it's questionable because like Derek Carr's had a really rough season. Desmond Ridder, we have no idea if he will even be on the Falcons
Will Levis
roster.
been getting like 20 points a week ever since he started.
He had a rough week this week and last week.
Oh yeah, he did. Never
Yeah,
mind.
but like that first game where he threw 4 touchdowns to D-Hop, he was balling, and it's like you could see the potential, but it's like, he's not everyone's CJ Stroud their rookie year, so it's like you don't get a surefire starter right out the gate.
CJ Stroud is on such a different level.
He is.
Like,
I think it's a good jumping off point. No. Josh has him.
Josh has
Yeah.
him. Okay, yeah. Let's get it. Let's get into it. Like, let's get into those matchups.
Yeah.
As for the trade deadline, I think we should make it week 14.
I think we should just eliminate it entirely for the reason that that Trevor brought up, is it's like you should be able to make moves all the time, and it's like the moves that you make.
We don't have to vote on trades right now, but what if we made it so that during the playoffs or after the trade deadline, we'll call it, all trades have to be voted on?
I don't like the
That just
concept of
clogs
vetoes
everything up.
because,
Unfortunately,
it makes it so that people just veto out of spite because it's like, no, I don't want him to have a better roster, when it's like you could have made an offer. I just don't like vetoes as a concept.
Okay.
If anything, it would be like the trade deadline would be like the semifinals or something. I don't know. It would be weird.
Yeah.
So, it'll be a discussion we'll have in the off season for sure.
Yeah, I think there's room for input from the rest of the membership too here.
Yeah,
and that's something that
there's a lot of ways to do it. It's just when
I
I was doing research on the trade deadline thing, the consensus I got from other commissioners who run dynasty leagues is that they don't have a trade deadline, and it's like weird if you do have one. And I was like, whoa, we have one. But again, I haven't done a dynasty league that makes any sense before, so here we are.
Things to work out later.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into it.
We're gonna start from the top to the bottom this week.
Who's on your top?
So we got John, because it's always me, because it puts you at the top on your thing. Yeah, so I try and switch it up.
We all get different orders though, depending on where people are. So
yeah, so we had John versus Kelsey this week.
After John's winning streak.
John lost vitally. His fucking 6-game winning streak is over.
Dude, and
that's insane, because he started 0-3, right? And then he rattled off 6 wins in a row. And then Kelsey beats him. And she's been struggling a lot. Like, her record is an indicator of how frustrating her season has been. Because like her defensive players have been really questionable. And her offensive players have been really boom or bust. And this week she had a boom. Just looking at the players that she started this week, I mean, you had Javonte Williams looked really good this week. Like, he's back from that injury. He had that ACL, I think, last year.
Yep.
And he looks fully healthy now, and he runs hard, and he looks super dynamic out there.
He looks like he got his confidence back in his body. Like there's always that thing where you're like, how much can I put on this? And I think he finally like hit it at game speed and was good, and now he's just hitting it at game speed all the time.
Yeah, that's always the narrative around players that have knee injuries is
I think any lower body
you have
injury,
that really any lower body injury, but like you have that period of about 8 months after the 8-month recovery period where you're kind of like not really trusting of that knee yet, and it's like you haven't really gone game speed, you haven't made like a cut on the field in an actual game in so long. And we saw it with Kyle Pitts early in the season too. It's like he didn't look right, he still doesn't really look right. But like, yeah, Javonte Williams, he had that. He looked like he didn't really trust that knee, but now he does.
Now he does.
That's
Now
good to
he's got
see.
it.
But that means your Jaleel McLaughlin's and the other running backs in that room are just
You're done.
doo-doo.
The committee is gone in Denver.
Yeah.
Probably to the Broncos' benefit, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw what it did to the Bills. So
Yeah.
Also, the Bills, like, they have other issues.
they sure do.
Yeah.
Fired their OC
Defense
today.
is not one you can say has like a huge amount of issues. Their defense actually looks pretty good.
The defense looks good. It looks solid.
They made a really
offense
questionable move. I want to talk about it later when we get to Jordan's matchup with Gabe Davis, but like, yeah, the Bills are in the shadow realm officially.
Doing some weird shit. The curse caught up to them.
Yeah.
They had their
Bills
moment.
suck.
Yeah, they do. They do suck.
Been saying that all year.
Tyler Lockett, he had a game.
He blew up.
Gino finally did something, so
Wow.
yeah.
I
He kind of quietly.
Yeah.
That is like Tyler Lockett had the just archetypal Tyler Lockett game.
Saying Gino did well just because we barely won is Gino did not do well.
He had one good drive, basically,
He had a good drive.
and then he
Can I
also
offer you
benefited from a.
nice
I
Jordan
hate
Love
all
instead?
these fucking articles and shit I keep
He's
seeing
back.
about, oh, Gino's back, and oh, Gino did perfect this week. Shut the fuck up. No, he didn't.
He benefited
really
a lot
didn't.
from the Kenneth Walker 64-yard bomb, which was just a check down. So that
Yeah,
definitely inflates his
that
stats
definitely
a
pads
lot.
the stats.
Yeah.
We saw literally in the last 30 seconds of the game what he needs to do all game.
Yeah. It's like I was joking in our chat. Like, I wish that Shane Waldron would just call a hurry up offense for the entire game.
Yeah.
Because, like, they look so much better when Gino's not
Honestly, that's
trying to
that's
process what's
it's a
happening.
good strategy. Just like play tempo.
He's
for
not a
little
play
bit.
action quarterback. He's just not.
Yeah.
He's not.
Play tempo game then. That's the whole deal. Whatever. This is.
I have
yeah.
some words about the Shane Waldron thing, which I'll talk about when we talk about other Seahawks. But yeah, the offense is just frustrating.
It's a bad offense.
George Kittle was also
Nobody's offense is good this year.
Uh,
Name it except Baltimore.
Baltimore's offense is highly functional. It's just really spread out. Like all the production is spread
it's not
out.
fantasy good, but it's
Yeah.
highly functional.
Yeah.
I mean, but really, who has a good offense this year? Good looking.
The Niners had a really good looking offense for a minute there, but then the wheels fell off.
And then it disintegrated, and now it's sort of weirdly reformed.
We
around
also
the
had a
course of
Dolphins
George
bye
Kittle.
week, and they've looked solid all year unless they play
Okay,
against
I'll
actually
grant
good
you.
defenses. At
know,
which
Right,
point
I
they
mean,
look
but
like
that's
ass.
it. It's like, but that's normal for a good offense anyway. I mean, to look like ass against. a
Honestly,
good
man, the
defense.
Houston Texans have a really exciting offense because of
That's true.
the way that their scheme works is so cool to watch because it's like they don't do this system where it's like this archaic old 1980s style offense like what the Panthers are doing where they just have basically stick routes and they just like run to a point and then turn around kind of plays.
Didn't they grab a Rams guy? Isn't it? It's another Shanahan
No,
tree.
D'Amico
Ryans was from the Rams, but did he bring an OC with him?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
So he must be from the Shanahan tree, which makes sense. Quarterback friendly. It helps Stroud out. Explains
And
that
Stroud
situation.
is like the peak of what like a Shanahan quarterback is like supposed to be.
Exactly.
But their scheme is like they disguise their not the run play. They don't disguise the run plays. They disguise the routes that they're running. They kind of have motion after the snap. They have like everyone like in a bunch, and then all the wide receivers run really interesting spread out routes as it develops. Yep. And the line is giving Stroud enough time, and he's making reads left and right, and looks awesome.
He's killing it.
But yeah, I would say
killing
Houston's offense looks good.
So we've got Houston, Miami, and Baltimore.
And then you have the Chargers. The Chargers offense.
Chargers don't have a good offense.
I don't think so. It's not
Austin
good.
Eckler, and like if Justin
it's one-dimensional.
Herbert could complete a pass to like
They had a really good offense at the
we could pretty
beginning
much
of the
say
year
that.
before the injuries killed their wide receiver position. Now it's
Yeah.
untested, unproven dudes, and it like makes the team extremely one-dimensional. So I don't think that's a good offense. But my point is
There
that
is no
three
really good
teams,
solid offense.
like a tenth of the league, has a good offense right now.
Who?
So really the three that we're talking about here: Baltimore, Miami, and Houston.
See, but Miami isn't because of how inconsistent Tua is. What would you? I think the Ravens are a good offense. They're probably the most solid offense. Then who's the third one? Sorry,
Houston.
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 Well,
No.
I mean,
Have you been watching their
fun.
games?
They're good.
Yeah,
they're
I
good
just-
offense.
Their defense is better than their offense.
The defense is
They
better
also
than their
have no
offense. I
run
think
game.
it's still a good offense. You're
have no
okay. The
run
no
game.
run game is correct. That's why CJ Stroud is putting up such insane numbers.
Yeah,
It's because they do not have a run game.
And they also have
I
really good wide
presume-
recievers.
They got great.
But-
Stroud is
receivers.
putting up good numbers because their defense makes him go 3 and out like all the fucking time. So they have the most time on the
And then
field.
they got time of possession
They
too.
have all
I mean,
fucking
it's
day to figure out if
it
they can
is
do anything.
it is the
That
perfect
doesn't make them a good
storm
offense. That means
for
they have
fantasy.
a really good defense.
It's also
in-
been no secret that this season has been historically awful for offense.
Yeah,
Like, we were talking
that's-
last week
that's
about-
what we're driving
Yeah.
at here is that
We were talking last week about how we were one rookie start away from breaking an NFL record for rookie starts, and we broke it this week. And there was also the laundry list of injuries to good quarterbacks. Like, even Joe Burrow's been playing at like less than 100% before the season even started. So, and that's been a prolific offense that's been absolutely kneecapped the entire season.
I think
by
that
injury.
Kansas City's been
in a lot of
kneecapped.
ways.
Yeah,
though,
Kansas City's also super disappointing. It's like,
Like all
if
they have is
if
Travis
we're
Kelce
looking
and
at the
Patrick Mahomes,
grand
like-
arc of the NFL, this represents a kind of a return to norm. There was like a weird period due to like Rodgers, Brady, and like the old guard of good quarterbacking that made
Mahomes.
consistent offense. Mahomes
Right.
to an extent,
It was also the
right?
Shanahan McVay stuff.
Aaron Rodgers was never a
Was
good
way
quarterback.
newer. I mean, he's feared enough at least.
He's about
I mean,
as
for
good as
accuracy.
Russell Wilson was.
Sure, I mean, yeah.
Except
unwashed
actually Russell was
Wilson.
a little no. Wilson was better than Aaron Rodgers. That's why we saw the Super Bowl. Like
The point I'm making is that was a historically good era for quarterbacking and offenses, and that's what the modern fantasy game came up around. But the NFL has not been like this for the vast majority of its history. It's been
it's like I was
more
saying,
consistently like this, like this year.
It's like I was saying last week, the defensive scheme, the meta, has shifted towards this too high safety zone system where it's like they give you everything underneath, which it eliminates the big plays. So it's like you don't really need a prolific pocket passer to throw bombs to Randy Moss. Like, it's not that system anymore that works. It's this dink and dunk outside the numbers, get it down the field in really conservative routes and lots of running, and use a number of different running backs throughout the game to get it done. And it's just really sluggish, and it's touchdowns are hard to come by. Like, we're even seeing a dip in field goals, it feels like. I don't see as many field goals this season even. It's just a lot of punting, a lot of defense, a lot of turnovers, fumbles, like all of that is up. Touchdowns are down. So I think that has a lot to do
all
with it.
offense is down, and that's what's making this year
it's
so
because,
crazy.
like I was saying in the beginning of the year, it's a transitional year where we're going from the air raid back to running the ball.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm excited because you were predicting that the Wildcat will see a resurgence in use and
Yeah.
will become more of a thing, and we've seen a little bit of that
We've
this
seen a bunch
season.
of it.
Yeah, it's
But
happening.
like, I'm here for it because I love the Wildcat. Like,
Somebody got a Wildcat.
It'll take 2 years.
unless it's fucking Arthur Smith doing that dumb shit where he has Jonnu Smith throw it to their tight end 4,
Shoot, who had the
Michael
see.
Pruitt.
It'll be fine in like 2 years. We'll see the transition back to like offenses actually catching up to defenses, and like it'll start all over again.
Well, we're starting to see it with Mike McDaniels with the lots and lots and lots of motion. Like every snap, you just got guys running all over the place and scrambling up the defense to make them play more on their toes. Like those systems are going to become more popular, I think.
What you'll notice is that the systems that run a lot of running backs will injure a lot of their wide receivers because now their wide receivers are doing a lot more blocking. And they're not used to blocking.
And they're smaller too. Like wide receivers are so small.
And they tweak their ankles because they're having to do these like weird sudden stops and then hit somebody at full force. And so that's kind of what you saw with San Diego. Is all their receivers are getting hurt blocking.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I don't know. This next couple of years, it'll go back to running, and then 5 years from now, it'll go back to passing.
Yeah, I mean it's the grand arc of the NFL.
And games are always really low scoring when it comes to a running offense because
eat so much
all
clock.
the clock gets chewed up while they're running the ball.
This is why I was saying like I would rather see like them cut down on commercial time and just change the rules so that when you run out of bounds. It stops the clock.
Why don't they just do all the commercials at halftime and get rid of the halftime show because none of us watch it?
Like, dude, I watch hockey or something, and it's like they just you're sitting there and you're watching for like 6 or 7 minutes, and then they cut to a commercial break. Whereas football, especially with how offense works this season, it's 3 and out, punt, commercial break. 3 and out, punt, commercial break. You get like 2 minutes of play, and then it's like I'm sitting here just watching commercials.
Even when you're at the game, it's so fucking weird experiencing a TV timeout.
Yeah, because the players are just standing around. Yeah.
You're just paused for the 45 seconds that 4 commercials are airing in.
Yeah.
Like, fuck.
You got the players just jawing at each other, like chilling.
Yeah, picking their nose.
Doing Fortnite dances or whatever the fuck.
Getting pumped.
Got the Chase Claypools of the world. Anyway, let's get back to.
We took a real swing out there.
That was a tangent and a half, but
that's what we do. Started it even? Were we talking about?
We're just
the Seahawks offense.
Yeah,
we were talking about Geno.
Anyway, if Geno sucks, may I offer you a nice Jordan Love instead? Would you take that?
No,
or would you rather have Geno?
Drafting.
So you know what? Like, well, no. But seriously, all season long, would you rather have Geno Smith or Jordan Love?
Just because our QB sucks doesn't mean we want your shittier QB. Like that.
Exactly. That's the point. You guys could shut up about your bad quarterback. Yes. Like, shut up about it.
I mean, you have all the right. You have all the right to complain about your quarterback as much as we do.
Yeah, no, I sure don't.
And you do. No, you do complain. You do complain. You talk about how much he sucks every week.
He just drinks and puts himself into the shadow realm instead.
It's true.
Dude, at least we don't have Josh Allen with 13 interceptions. That shit's maddening.
Yeah,
that shit sucks.
Season's not even is like a little over halfway over, and he has that many interceptions.
Dude's farmed himself. I mean, he's gonna statistically wind up looking like Jameis.
Yeah,
except for the good years.
Well, I want to get through these studs and duds here.
Let's do that.
Caden Ellis, Kelsey picked him up this week for a bye week fill in on our line. That was a really sick play because he had a really good game. Jeff Simmons was also really good. He did say after the game that he seemed really upset. He's sick and tired of losing. Like, that team sucks.
Yeah.
Bobby Wagner had a vintage game, like probably the best game he's had all season. He was good.
The 2-sack game against the Giants is still the best game he's had.
I don't count that because that game was it's the Giants are
bad.
Giants as like a game. That's not a game.
That's not a game. That's free points.
New York Giants are a get right
which
game.
Is Joe Pesci's character from Goodfellas at quarterback. Like,
this was Bobby's best game.
Yeah,
this was Bobby's best game.
His most complete game, I think. Yeah. Because, like, he had 2 sacks in a game where the Giants had given up. But, like, this game mattered a lot for the Seahawks playoff chances. They went from winning this game, it's like a over 75% chance of making playoffs. Losing it, they go down to, like, 35, I saw. by the Amazon
like,
next gen
we're
stats. So like this was a
definitely
big
getting
game
into
to
that.
win, especially
Do you
against
have
the Commanders.
Do you all know about the playoff odds tracker?
Yeah.
What?
I mean, what about it?
The one where you get to where is this?
Where you run simulations or whatever, like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
iterates through the
like,
different
name,
possibilities.
This I'll throw this up in our sleeper because
It's cool.
um
Play with it.
yeah, here. Enjoy.
There you go. Cool. Thanks, Steve.
And, well, I do have to admit that Caden Ellis is pretty good. Like I have him in the PsyOps league. I enjoy having him on my team. He's pretty solid all the way
He
around.
fucking wrecked me. God damn it.
Yeah, you lost to me in both of these leagues, and you should at least feel bad about the PsyOps league because your team's
I
good
should.
in that one.
Honestly, that's gonna
No one
like
should
make
feel
it.
like that.
It
My
made
team
it
sucks in that one.
the double L in there, or the 1-1 in the PsyOp league means that I have a chance of like losing my playoff spot to Denver or some upstart if I fumble again. So
Yeah, well, the
it
Jets
matters
suck,
more.
Steve.
Anyway, yeah,
Um,
Jets
Anyway,
suck.
So the
If I
Going
get
on
knocked out of the
John's team.
playoffs in that league, it'll be a really Jets thing to have happened, and that would
well,
be
moving
fun.
on to John's team.
Yeah.
Travis Etienne came back down to earth. Like, didn't score 2 touchdowns. Didn't have over 50 yards.
Yeah.
They just got
He did not
embarrassed.
find the ETN zone.
San Francisco
Yeah.
just absolutely manhandled.
yeah.
They came out of that bye
Destroyed.
with a vengeance because they were like, we don't suck. Like, what the fuck is this? And then they just shit on Jacksonville completely.
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs needs to get out of Buffalo because apparently, like, they can't throw him the ball. Like, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
guess-
sure why they fired Ken Dorsey because that game was lost due to their defense. Like, they had the game in hand, and then they drew that really bad pass interference call at the end of the game. And then they won it, but they fucked up on special teams because they had 12 men on the field. Like, he missed the field goal to win the game, and they would have won. But since they had 12 men on the field, they got a re-kick, and it was even closer. So they kicked it from the 36 instead. So, like, then the next day they end up firing Ken Dorsey. Like, I don't understand what the fuck is wrong with the Bills. Like, that.
Yeah,
I mean, watch
they're
that
fucked
game.
up.
It looked like post Legion of Boom Russell Wilson, like, era Seahawks. It was really bad, and they kept doing all the things that weren't working. And then
Yeah.
when they did the things that did work, they didn't stick with them. Like, whether or not it was Latavius Murray or James Cook, like, running the ball, they actually got yards.
Yeah.
They could not get yards and created turnovers when they threw the ball. Like,
Yeah.
it looked like it was just bad.
It was bad.
It was dumb.
Anyway,
Terry McLaurin was completely shut down by Seattle's backfield. Kayvon Thibodeau got a concussion. I wanted to shout out honorable mention for a dud, even though he didn't play him, was Zach Moss. He's been relegated to what he should be. Jonathan Taylor is the
he's
guy.
back. Jonathan Taylor is now
So,
back. Zach Moss has
Zach Moss is now
no more place in the
It's like
backfield.
that. It's like that Toy Story meme. It's like
yeah, I'm done playing with you now. Yeah, you have the distinction of not being Jonathan Taylor, and that's your problem.
Mike Evans was dominant this week. Just completely took over the game. He did drop a ridiculously easy catch in the end zone. But he did say after the game that as the ball was coming to him, he turned his head to the bench and was thinking about who he was going to give that touchdown ball to, and then it just boinked off of his hands.
Dummy.
So, veterans can still make rookie mistakes.
And when you're up 14 points to a team that can't score, I get it.
Yeah. Cortland Sutton had that incredible touchdown from Russell Wilson. That was vintage Russell Wilson play. I was like, when he caught it, I saw it live. When I saw it live, I was like, that's a touchdown. Because it just like, I've seen Russell Wilson do that many, many, many times with the Seahawks, where he's just rolling out and then throws it on the run. And it's just like a complete desperation play. But like, because he still has elite accuracy, Cortland Sutton was the only one who could make that play. And he just high pointed it, got 2 feet down, right at the edge. It was like by a toenail. He gets that in. The window was razor thin. It's like we're talking like 1% chance of that working, and it ended up being a touchdown, and that ended up mattering in the grand scheme of things. Like in the context of the game, that touchdown mattered.
Yeah, it's good that like that one actually counted. There's been a number of times where like it's not a touchdown usually because they review that all the time, but like you see like plays where it's like, oh no, they got 2 feet in, but they called it out, and that sucks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. My screen just totally fucking died.
Oh, you're
So
good,
I'm gonna be just like fucking around for a bit because
Okay.
I can't see anything.
Okay.
So
Well, I think that's everything from this matchup.
The only other thing I wanted to remark about Kelsey's team was Mac Jones got benched at the 2-minute warning after that awful red zone interception, and then Bailey Zappi came in and then did a fake spike and threw another interception to lose the game.
Yeah, the Patriots.
Dude, the Patriots are so bad. I love to see it though. I love to see the Patriots failing.
Front office people, man.
Like, I think I speak for everybody who watches football that it's nice to see the Patriots failing. So
yeah,
they're getting what's due. It's a good change of pace for sure. Like watching Miami play as well as they are, being at the top of that division, and watching the Patriots just be an absolute trash fire is extremely refreshing.
Truth.
All right, Steve. Did you get your shit figured out yet?
I'm serious. This fucking just mute me. Kick me out.
No, I'm not
I gotta
kicking
deal
you
with
out.
this.
No, you're good. Should we skip your match? Should we skip your matchup real quick and talk about Josh and Jordan?
Steve's not going to be able to join in on his matchup. We should move.
Yeah, we'll
I'm
do.
flying behind here.
All right.
But
We'll talk about Josh and Jordan in the meantime, and hopefully you can get your stuff figured out.
okay, yeah, just kick me out though. I'll be
All right.
if I can be back, I'll let you know.
All right, Josh. He's got CJ Stroud, man. That lucky motherfucker.
Kick me from the chat. I can't mute
It's
myself.
so funny that he like actually is a better play now for this year than fucking
Fuck outta here.
Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, he's a transcendent player. Like, Burrow played really, really well in that game, and I thought that Cincinnati was going to end up winning that because CJ Stroud threw a bad pick at the end of the game, and it was like, oh, this is done. Like, he played really well. I was like, man, CJ Stroud had a game, but like, he lost. But then it came down to the wire, and he just clutched up. They ended up winning that, and yeah.
And you look at the stat line, like he overcame like 3 turnovers. Like it's not like, not like he played a perfect game. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's impressive. It's an impressive win for sure.
Chris Olave woke up once Jameis came in.
Dude, why you know your team is down bad or like your players are down bad when your saving grace is Jameis? Like, and you're like, oh, Jameis is in. My players can get points. It's like that's not a good sign.
Your receivers are definitely going to get points.
Yeah.
That's what's awesome about
100%.
Jameis though. He just doesn't
He's
fucking
got the
care.
arm punt, dude.
So like
Yeah, dude, he arm punted a few of those too.
when Derek Carr is in, that offense is so boring to watch. It's like I'm sure Trevor loves it because he just checks down to Kamara
Hey,
every
thanks.
play. Yeah, it's like, yeah, cool. But it's like that's not fun to watch. Like from your perspective, it's like cool, more points. Cool, more points. Cool, more
It's
points. But it's like,
really, really late stage Drew Brees when he was just checking down to Kamara and Michael Thomas for like 2 years. It's like just
but that offense was like functional. This is complete dysfunction. Like
Well, that's
Derek
what
Carr
Drew
and
Brees-
Chris Olave are not on the same page. The Taysom Hill project is interesting.
Dude,
like-
Taysom Hill's a real player. He's just a football man.
He's just a
Like-
football man, but like he wasn't involved in this game at all.
I mean, my guy A.T. Perry like had a great like ridiculous 50-50 ball.
Yeah,
That
he
was
he
I don't
woke
know,
up.
like, I
He
don't know
was
if you
there.
saw that.
No, I
That
did.
was hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he deserves that touchdown. I couldn't tell what was going on.
It's always exciting when you see like your taxi squad guys like contributing. It's like making a waiver wire pickup and they go off and you're like, nice, let's go.
Yeah.
I fucking did it. You feel like a genius because of all the times that you spend $20 a fab on a guy and he just sucks and you're like, well, guess I gotta drop this guy now because he sucks. His defense, he's really cobbled together some good defensive pieces from the wire. Like Josh was struggling really hard earlier in the season with the defensive players. Justin Madubuike, I think that's how you pronounce his name. From Baltimore. He's on a crazy tear with the sacks. I was actually looking at him on the wire because I had some start-sit decisions, and I traded away Chris Jones to Trevor. So I was like, well, I need a lineman this week because Brian Burns got injured. And I was looking at him, and I was like, this Madubuike kid is, like, killing it right now.
He's getting a sack every week.
Yeah, he's a monster out there. He's like, nom, 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 nom. So I was like,
You know what it is?
good job, Josh. That was a good pickup.
You know what it is? It's called a contract year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's also just good. Like if you watch him
he's a
play,
good
he's
player.
just like he's got impact, and it's just like it's the same thing with Deron Bland. Like Josh picked him up, and we were kind of giving him crap because like he picked him up after he had that pick 6 game earlier in the season, and he did nothing the following game, and we laughed at Josh, and then he dropped him, and then he continued to have an amazing season, and he's pretty much one of the best defensive players on the Cowboys that isn't Micah Parsons. So that was a good
actually, like,
pickup as well.
That makes me really for next season when Trayvon Diggs gets back, like having those two in the backfield is going to be like just really good pick your poison for people playing Dallas.
That defense is crazy. Like they're so deep. That roster is so deep.
Well, except for we can make if
frustrating.
Steve gets back, we can make fun of him for Micah Parsons.
We will. Regardless of if Steve comes back.
Yeah.
I think he's ready to come back in. He is back. All right, we get Steve.
All right.
You'll feel it.
All right, Skeletor is back.
Yeah.
But Jordan fucking.
I wanted to talk about Josh's not so good players because he did end up losing this match. I mean, he got absolutely creamed by what is looking like one of the scariest rosters in the Dynasty League in Jordan. But
he scores 220 points every week.
It's fucking insane.
Without a QB.
No
Tony Pollard is looking like one of the biggest busts of the year. Like he looked awesome after Zeke. To back up Zeke, it was always Zeke is washed. Zeke has too many touches, too much. He has no tread on the tires left. But this Tony Pollard kid, every single time that he gets a touch, he's breaking off big chunk runs, and he's like the RB1, the future of the Cowboys. But now that he's got all the opportunity, he looks like ass. And it's
well, it turns
This is
out he's
also
not
a good
Aaron
reminder
Jones.
for everybody who's like doing redraft. Do not draft the guy that has broken his leg in the same year. Like
he did have that injury. Like that could be part of it, but yeah, that one's tough.
for a running back, having a broken leg and needing to recover from it seems like a thing.
Yeah,
Just saying.
Yeah, that does seem like pretty important.
DJ Moore is still a Bear. Jacoby Myers. There was a lot of brouhaha around their coach who seems like a badass. Like he's Raiders. He bleeds black. He's in that conference or the after he'd been promoted to head coach, he was talking about how he's wearing the NWA shirts or whatever, and it's like he reps the scene.
He grew up in LA kid, and like as an LA Raiders fan during that era, and it makes just perfect sense. So like, yeah, I hope he gets the job. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's also got like the kind of instant respect of players because he was on that Giants team that won the Super Bowl, or one of them, as a linebacker. So it's like, he's got a ring where he was a major contributing part, and like You know, for players that means stuff. That means
It
something.
does.
It really does. I mean, and
he got Josh McDaniels the fuck out of there, so you know.
He did. Everybody loves him. He also, did you see the shit that he said yesterday? Where he's like, "I'm not stupid. I'm gonna get the ball to Devontae Adams."
Hell yeah. We need to
Which is like the
get
kind
that
of
man
like,
to the Falcons. Let's
hell
go.
yeah, like
Yeah, that's like, dude. Oh, that's so funny. Speaking of the Falcons,
so
just
that's what happened to Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, that is what
Is
happened.
they got the
Jacoby
ball
Myers.
to Devontae Adams. And if you look at
Skot,
Devontae's stat line on Ben's team, when we get there, we will see the result of that.
I do have to say that the beat reporters for the Falcons have reported that Arthur Smith is not going to go anywhere.
Oh, of course not. That's because that's because Blank is a fucking dumbass. We'll talk about the Falcons later. But yeah.
Cursed team.
Tuli Pelotu was invisible. He's got a low snap count. You got to pay attention to that when you're playing defensive players, guys. Low snap count is bad. Low snap count and no tackles means probably not a good play.
No opportunity.
I mean,
no opportunity. Yeah. He's probably a rotation piece. You need you need the starter.
He's shredded in a trio with Khalil Mack and Nick Bosa on an extremely weak, I believe, Giants offensive line.
Yeah.
Who did they play last week?
Plays like that.
Oh no, the Jets.
Plays like that are like,
the Jets.
This wide receiver 4 is playing against the Giants.
The Jets have a terrible line.
I will play them, you know. So
yeah. The Jets have a terrible offensive line. He and Khalil Mack and Bosa all shredded against the Giants, and you know, just don't go chasing sacks.
Yeah. The honorable mentions
to the rivers and the tackles that you're used to.
Honorable mentions on
Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, so you know. Not the greatest position for a rookie.
Yeah. Honorable mentions on Josh's side for his offensive guys, though. Jalen Warren looks legit. Like he looks like a good 1B piece to Najee. And Trey McBride went crazy and has been good. So that's an exciting pickup off the wire for Josh.
Tight end is like deeper than it's ever been since any of us have started to play fantasy.
Yeah, it's a really weird season. It is really weird. But we'll see how it
Travis
develops.
Kelsey isn't producing shit.
Defenses aren't producing shit outside of Baltimore and Miami, arguably.
All right, Jordan, studs. Rashad White was really bad on the ground again, but he fell into the end zone twice.
Volume.
You always like the volume and falling into the end zone, which, you know, that's
his receptions here are pretty good. He almost had 2 for 25 yards.
Yeah, he was involved in the pass game.
For 25 yards apiece. I mean,
I was going to say he was 2 for 47. What do you mean?
Yeah. I mean, 25 yards, 2 for 25 yards apiece by his stat line.
Good
I mean, in reality, it's probably 1 for 7 and 1 for 40, but on like a good screen and a bad screen.
I mean,
whatever.
2.2 yards per carry isn't that bad. It's not that bad. We've seen so many. It's not good, but it's not that bad either.
2.5.
Like,
on
if you think about it, we've seen most running backs this year in this league struggle to get positive yards in general.
Tennessee's defensive line is really good against the run.
The best play in football is a completely telegraphed power run up the gut for 4 yards. Like, that hasn't changed. Like, if you can do that, you've got a good running game.
You're also smashing up the line and hurting the guys who rush the passer and stuff. That's why it's important to establish the run game, is that it doesn't just keep the defense guessing, it beats them the fuck up. Like, running the ball is super important. And that's what he was doing. Like, they clearly were salting the game away at the end there, which contributes to his sub 3 yards per carry. But
what's crazy to me is that Christian McCaffrey has been able to stay healthy all year. He had like a little
he should be broken by now.
But like by now, he's done. Like, usually he's out.
He's the soft tissue guy.
Like, literally, just he's done by this time of year. So, you know,
I know what happened.
Well, they took him out of this game.
He has a real line now. So.
All of those Shanahan disciples that are stealing body parts, They're giving them as as tribute to Shanahan himself, and he's installing them into McCaffrey.
Well,
all of these ACLs and knee tendons.
So
and
if you remember, he tied the NFL record for consecutive touchdowns at 17, and this was game 18, and he didn't get a touchdown this week. But
they tried.
They tried. The game was way out of hand at the end there, and they were running out the third and fourth string guys, getting them some touches. But when they got at the goal line, he was sitting there with the third and fourth string guys, but they had Christian McCaffrey there, and they were force feeding him the ball. And it was funny because at the end, when the two coaches meet in the middle, he gave him the acknowledgement. It was like, I knew you were trying to give CMC the ball, he said, I knew you were trying to give 23 the ball in that case. And he's like,
what's crazy to me is that, as we know Christian McCaffrey's injuries in the past, you're beating this team by 30 points. Why in the world are you keeping him in the game?
Yeah, he wanted the streak. He wanted the record.
Yeah, Shanahan did say in the presser after the game that he was nervous about it.
Coaching.
He was nervous about it, but he's also a big, he understands that these records are important to the players, and Christian really wanted it. So I guess it's a risky play. It's a risky play for sure, but it's not every season you get the opportunity to make NFL history. And CMC
tying the record is pretty solid too. That's pretty solid,
but I'm sure CMC feels a little bit. I know
chaffed
you feel
that he didn't break it. That you didn't break it, but tying a record tying the record, pretty sweet too.
Yeah, and it's not one of those. It's not one of those goofy records where it's like.
So that's just not the same.
It isn't, but. Pretty good.
It's not one of those goofy records where it's like consecutive games with X amount of touches within the first 3 years of their career with a touchdown.
Yeah, no, it's
it's just very straightforward. That's a pretty crazy record. It's like this guy scored in 18 games in a row. It's like, goddamn.
He missed in Cleveland anyways. He didn't get a touchdown in Cleveland 3 weeks ago.
No, he did. You got a receiving touchdown.
According to our stats here. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you got a receiving touchdown.
I thought it was rushing.
It's all purpose. All purpose.
Okay.
I'm on Ross St. Brown. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. What more can you say about this kid?
Ed, look at this. I mean,
this
9 receptions for 156 yards.
Both of these next two guys, St. Brown and Keenan Allen, this game was absolutely out of control with the amount of scoring because neither of these teams have a good defense.
That went crazy.
And it was just a fantasy gold mine for these two.
Keenan Allen's the only target, so.
Yep.
It definitely helps. It's him and Austin Eckler, and that's it.
TJ Hawkinson blew up.
Let's talk about Keenan Allen here for a second. This dude is a monster. He's just a bad man. Did you see the stiff arm? He was it was halfway through this game where he was dominant, and he laid this nasty stiff arm on a play. He was just feeling himself that game.
He wanted to win.
Yeah, he was so nasty he hurt his shoulder and tore his labrum. So
yeah, he was tearing it up, literally and figuratively.
Tearing himself up. Yeah, getting it done. But
Keenan Allen, I appreciate your service and thank you for the effort you gave in a matchup before my matchup.
That game was also fucking awesome. The Detroit
that was a solid game.
Chargers game was so fun to watch. I was so happy about that.
Jahmyr Gibbs went into Wildcat.
They were doing all sorts. Dan Campbell.
I'm pretty sure I saw
Ben Johnson.
I'm pretty sure I saw Jahmyr Gibbs in Wildcat in that game on a 4th and 4 that got converted.
There's going to be serious questions going forward about whether or not Jahmyr Gibbs is the actual number one in that offense, but I don't think it really matters.
Yeah,
Montgomery is still a force.
It's still going to be a split between Montgomery because Montgomery had a really good game too. We'll talk about him later. But
how many more years does Montgomery have though?
Obviously Jahmyr Gibbs is the future.
2 or 3 year, 2 years maybe.
Yeah.
I think he's got 3.
He signed.
He's got a lot of injuries.
He has had a lot of. He's been banged up over the years.
he'll play out that contract. That's not like overly expensive for a running back, even in the late stages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as Joe started to talk about TJ, but I wanted to give my man Keenan Allen some love there. TJ Hawkinson was supposed to be used very carefully in this game. Kevin O'Connell was talking about how he was going to be he intimated that he was going to be put on a pitch count. That was a lie. They heavily featured him. Josh Dobbs could not stop targeting him.
Go hard.
Yeah.
Dude, every single time he like TJ Hawkins
11
touched the
receptions.
ball, he got lit the fuck up less than a second later. Like, this man got so much punishment. Like all of his highlights end with him just getting taken the
Slumped.
fuck out.
Oh boy.
Which is crazy because the coaching staff
Right,
literally
Iowa boy.
was saying before the game that they were going to be careful with him, but that went way the fuck out the window. I don't know. The Vikings are having a really interesting season. They were talking about the first. I think they lost the first 3 or 4, and then they rattled.
Yeah.
They're on a huge win streak now, and Justin Jefferson's coming back, and they traded for Josh Dobbs. Like they are, and they kept Danielle Hunter. They did not trade him at the deadline, which they could have got like at least a second round pick for Danielle, and he's going to be asking for a lot.
Did you see that they brought back Anthony Barr?
Hmm?
Did you see that they brought back Anthony Barr
Oh,
on
yeah.
defense?
Yep.
One of the like a classic Viking who can reinstill some of that old culture too.
Mhm.
Like
The older Vikings defense that was really scary. Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Like they've got good pieces.
Yeah.
They just are starting to learn to play together a lot better, that defense.
Yeah.
And the offense is somehow doing just fine with whoever at quarterback.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, this just goes to show
even
that
Jaron
like,
Hall didn't look too bad.
I mean, this is like the same thing where everybody is like, "Oh, Kirk Cousins is just fine as a quarterback because you've got all this stuff around him." I mean, that kind of proves to be true. Like, yeah. Kirk was completely fine because you've got.
Kirk
all
is
the
also
pieces around.
like elite at reading defenses. Like he's not the most
He's
physically gifted quarterback, but like
He's just had a ton of experience.
He's
had
smart.
a million reps.
he's really
and
smart.
he's quick.
Yeah, he's
And
got high football
Dobbs
IQ.
Josh Dobbs makes up for that where he if he bails on a play, he's athletic enough to actually move the ball.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Josh Dobbs and
Yeah.
Trevor's matchup because he has him, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Anyway,
we're talking
to-
little Vikings here. Shaheed did nothing.
Yeah, Gardner
JSN did
Minshew.
nothing.
Gardner Minshew had a bad game. Max Crosby had a bad game. He'll be fine. Nice job
Yeah.
sitting Gabe Davis. That was a
Yeah.
good call.
Smart.
I know that was probably hard to do, Jordan, but I wanted to
well
shout that
done.
out.
I also want to shout out him. I don't like him picking up St. Juice or he's definitely
Oh, yeah.
St. Juice.
Benjamin
Like,
St. Just is solid.
Yeah.
Dude,
That was a
he
good
good.
pickup.
He is
He looked good
He's
against the
killing it
Hawks. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at how well he's played this season in the game
his
log.
fantasy numbers are crazy, but he
Did kind of have a bonehead penalty that kind of fucked the game for Washington, but other than that, he had a really solid game this
That
week.
doesn't show on the fantasy
doesn't
score sheet.
show up in the fantasy thing, but yeah. Anyway, I want to talk about Steve and Joe's game.
I don't want to talk about this.
I do want to talk about this.
Have fun, Joe. Take it away.
I have been waiting for this for a while. All right.
Okay, so since Steve took a double L this year, like on our matchup day, the only thing that could have made this better is if Aaron Jones went off.
Yeah, that would
That would
have
have
The
been
player
hilarious.
you acquired from him.
Wound. Yeah.
But that didn't happen because Pittsburgh. Turns out Pittsburgh
Yeah,
has a
still
good
good.
defense. But yeah, Justin Herbert was a part of that game that was just absolutely out of control. Jameer
Dude,
Gibbs was the fuck up.
Justin Herbert was throwing fucking laser beams out there.
Dude,
His passes were they had zip. They were accurate. He was just nailing his receivers left and right. Like he passed, he had lots of attempts. I think, 40.
yeah. I mean, it was just a shootout.
It was an absolute shootout. I mean, they lost 38-41. The Detroit that offense was just too much.
I mean, this is that game is like the same game that the Seahawks played against the Lions
Yeah.
the last 2 years. It's the exact same thing. It's just back and forth.
Yep.
It's like a college game. It's like an exciting offensive college game. It was badass. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier. Jahmyr Gibbs was eating.
I kind of thought it was a boring game to watch, but
What do you
that's
mean?
just me.
That game was awesome.
Steve's just salty because he had to watch a Jahmyr Gibbs go off and be like, "Oh, fuck."
Nothing about that game was fun for me. I just wanted more Monty, and there was no Monty.
No. What do you mean? David Montgomery had a fine game.
He had
it
a
just
great
wasn't
game,
as good
but
as Gibbs.
it was only after Jahmyr
was
Gibbs
exciting
had
play.
amassed 27 fantasy points
That's true.
that happened. So there wasn't more Monty when it counted.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hate
forced-
when no defense plays. I
It
hate it when the
sucks.
defense just fucking passes come through all day, or it irritates the shit out of me when you just see
Bad technique.
no defense whatsoever. Yeah, it's not fun
Lazy,
to watch
low
for me.
effort, just getting burned. All the corners
Yeah.
just kind of jogging out there. Yeah, I can see that.
It looks like
Yeah, no,
lethargic.
Brandon Staley's gonna get fired at the end of the year. Like just
He
because
should
of
have
the
been
corner
fired after
situation.
that fucking disaster class in the playoffs last year where they gave up 30
Oh, yeah.
points in the second quarter and or the second half and lost.
That was
They
a
should have. And
Falcons
it's the
level
same
cursing.
problem is they don't
Yeah.
have any, like, their secondary is complete trash. Like, it's just
Derwin James
Just
is having a
garbage.
really bad season. Yeah, their
Mhm.
secondary is just depleted. It's
Real bad.
They're bad. Their defense is bad.
yeah.
Khalil
but
Mack
Amari
Khalil Mack is the focal point of their defense, and he's old. Like,
Yeah, it's not great.
yeah.
Not great. Yeah, was
Um,
forced to start Calvin Ridley. Not great.
Devon Witherspoon is the real
Von
deal.
Wither- He is awesome, and I'm gonna stick by my draft day prediction that as long as he doesn't get hurt, there's no way he can fail. Because
Yeah.
for some reason he has that veteran's ability to read a play as a rookie, which is not how that's supposed to go.
Yeah.
Roquan Smith had 21 tackles.
21 tackles. Jesus Christ, that's so many.
Ridiculous.
That's insane.
It's
That is
absolutely
insane.
ridiculous.
It's like half the
21
that's like half the
tackles.
snaps that the offense played. He was in there tackling the guy who got the ball. That's fucking crazy.
Montez Sweat did
Montez
nothing
Sweat
for
had a
me,
game, but
He got his extension 10 days ago. He doesn't need
Yeah.
to play.
he
I will say
played
this, he
really
got
well
The
for
bagitis
game.
is setting
He
in.
got back.
No.
Yeah, the bag
Honestly,
itis.
I watched a good bit of that game. Montez Sweat played really well for the Bears.
I mean,
It's just that everybody else was eating because of it.
Yeah.
well, the other thing
Yeah,
too
but-
that I think is an
He
important
was
point
creating
for
opportunities
Scott
for other folks.
is that Montez Sweat got 3 QB hits and couldn't convert one of them into a sack, and that's on Bryce Young getting rid of the ball.
Yep.
His ability
Yep.
to actually his situational awareness is worthwhile keeping him around, and hopefully he Carolina can help
Young's-
the
Bryce
man
Young
out.
needs weapons, and he needs a system that it wasn't designed to work against 1980s defenses.
Yeah,
He also could use a offensive line, a functional one.
He needs a
Right,
he
there's
needs
a
a
lot that
functional
needs to
offensive
happen in
line. It's like that
Carolina
picture I
for that
showed
to
you
go
where it's
right.
like the defensive line is past his offensive line, and the offensive line guys are turned around, and it's and they're on
not how that's
they're on 3 different levels. It's looking like a high school offense out there. It's disgusting.
How much?
Boyan
Okay,
Mafe?
here's
Mafe-
the question.
Mafe-
is on a streak right now.
7
Yeah,
straight
Mafe is-
games with a sack. Let's go.
Can
Oh,
he actually
boy.
can he be the guy that we all have been wanting, a double-digit
I hope
sack
so,
guy
man.
for the last I don't know 7 to 10 years?
We've
I mean,
wanted
when was the
that
last guy
since
we had,
we've wanted that since Frank Clark left.
I know, right?
That was supposed to be Bobby, but Bobby is we know what he is at this point,
Yeah.
He's
Well,
he's
he's
our
also,
he's our
real
quarterback, He's the quarterback of our defense, and he doesn't
He's also
sack
not an
people.
edge
He doesn't
rusher.
rush the edge. Yeah.
Not an edge rusher, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't had an edge rusher in forever, so
It's good to
please
have
stay
one.
healthy.
And dude, quick tangent. The free agent sightings that we've made have been so bad. Draymond Jones is fucking trash. Frank Clark looks cooked. Like,
Yeah.
it's bad. Losing Chenna was really brutal. I hope he heals up, man. That is really bad.
Torn pec's hard to.
It's a torn titty too. Yeah, like that's rough.
The problem with bringing in Frank Clark, like as a more general thing, is that he is very duplicative of Darrell Taylor, which is bad because they both can't set the edge.
Yep.
Neither of those guys know how to do that.
Yep.
And it's just a big problem.
I'm hoping Darrell Taylor can figure it out, though.
I think we brought back Frank Clark as a veteran to
retire,
be a leader with and help Bobby kind of break up the defense, and Bobby can deal with the backfield. Frank can deal with the front line, and they can. We have 2 captains now on our defense, which really fucking helps in the long run.
We also got Leonard Williams too, so that's also another veteran that can help kind of be the other side of that line. Like you have Frank Clark on one end, and then Leo on the other end. Like
Leo got a sack. Like at least
he got his first sack as a Seahawk. Shout out Casey, picking him up.
Good for him.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about this. James Cook dribble gate.
Dude, this shit's hilarious. I don't even know this dribble gate. This is just like, what the fuck was going on here?
This is dribble gate. Well, it's dribble gate because of the fantasy points. I did some research.
Yeah, okay,
I did some research on this. I don't think you'll like the result.
I don't even know what the fuck is going
on.
I'm
not getting the points. Like, whatever. Like, I was like...
So...
Yeah.
He fumbles the ball and picks it up and then gets tackled again. But like, what? Bro.
I mean, that's a really good punch by Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah, that was a sick play. That was a sick play.
It's a really good play.
But yeah.
Wow, that could have turned out so much worse.
I know.
Holy fuck.
Perfectly into his hands too. It's like wild.
So he fumbled, caught the ball in stride, was running, wasn't ruled down by contact. So he was credited with a fumble recovery officially. But offensive players in fantasy can't get fumble recovery statistics. Because think about it.
Weird.
Think about it. If you have a quarterback, how often does this happen? Where you have a quarterback who gets a bad snap and then fumbles the ball and then falls on it. If you're scoring IDP, or if you have like a funky scoring system where you get points for fumble recoveries, it can turn a bad play, like a fumble, into a positive
net play.
Like that it doesn't make sense. So I went back and I was like, okay, if defensive players can get fumble recoveries, because clearly they do. A lot of our defensive players have scored fumble recoveries on the season. And I went and I looked. I was like, okay, fumble recovery, confirmed that they got it on the defensive player. Cool. So then I went and I looked for an offensive player who's got a fumble recovery other than James Cook, because I was like, maybe they'll get a stat correction.
I think Alvin Kamara had one.
So here's the thing. Keenan Allen had a fumble recovery in a similar kind of play where the ball he caught the ball, was established as a runner because he completed the catch, had it punched out, and then he picked it up. So he recovered his own fumble, basically. But he gets the lost fumble, so the -1 from the lost fumble, but he does not get the fumble recovery points because he's an offensive player.
Yeah.
Which honestly, like, is probably for the best, just because, like, if you look at the scoring for that play, it's 7.7 points.
Yeah,
if you just put all of the, like, fumble recovery, if you put the fumble loss and the fumble recovery, that would make it 9.7 points, which would be a very silly way to score that.
Exactly. It doesn't make sense to have an offensive player get points for the fumble recovery, even though we score it.
You do not get points for dribbling.
Yeah.
But the way that like it is scored is so James Cook had 2 fumbles in that game, but he only has 1 fumble loss. So it's not as bad as an actual fumble because you only are -1.
What is a fumble recovery point-wise for
+4?
Oh my God, no.
Yeah, that's why. That's why
you can't
I
let
was
it
worried.
go.
Can you separate the scoring for offense and defense on fumble
It
recoveries?
It is separated.
It is. It's not clear though.
What? Because like I think it should equal.
Though.
I think it should equal out if like a QB fumbles it, but they recover it themselves. They don't lose the ball.
It's a net 0.
It should be a net 0.
Right. But
because
the problem is
he didn't turn the ball over. I think he should only be a negative if they turn the ball over, personally. But I have Kirk fumblings on my team.
Well, this goes back.
Vested interest.
This goes back to that our previous podcast a couple weeks ago where I was talking about other leagues with funny problems, and there's that one league where they scored positive points by accident for fumbles that weren't lost. So at least it's not that. But you're right. In an ideal perfect system, there should be a fumble recovery stat for offensive players where they can nullify the result of the fumble by getting their points back if they were charged with a fumble. But if they just fumble and they don't recover it, they get the points taken away.
I've seen Alvin Kamara probably recover 3 fumbles this year, and that would mean he's getting positive points for like just making sure they don't.
Yeah,
turn over
they're getting rewarded for doing something wrong, because like ball security is an extremely important skill, and you're basically if you're rewarding points for recovering fumbles as an offensive player, then you're basically rewarding them for being bad at football, which is like, this is not a golf league.
Well, unless it's not them that's fumbling and they're recovering it for their other team.
Yeah,
they're actually doing something. They're putting their body on the line, right?
Yeah,
for that ball.
That's the only case where it makes sense to give them positive points, but I can see where Sleeper made an executive decision to just not include that in their scoring, because they do get points for tackles. So if they tackle a guy who's returning the ball on an interception. DK got some tackles. Joe lost a matchup this season because of defensive scoring affecting an offensive player. But I thought it was interesting that fumble recoveries don't get scored for offense. So I just wanted to clear that up, because I thought that was really interesting. I dug into it, and that's what I found. So yeah
they're not.
It all makes sense.
So Dribblegate. You don't get points for offensive players.
You can, however, adjust scoring so that offensive players can score fumble recoveries.
No, you can't. I tried with a test league, and you cannot give positive points for recovering fumbles. They do not get them. I tried. Straight up. Like, Sleeper would have to change their system. But anyway, we've talked about this for like 5 minutes already. I think let's
move on to Steve.
Yeah.
And let's talk about Steve.
Oh, let's talk about all the shit that's going on this side. Look, I'm the recipient of Jordan Love's 2 touchdowns. That's fun. Nobody else got jack.
Jaden Reed is better than Christian Watson.
No fucking doubt. Christian Watson can't fucking find his way towards the ball like every other receiver on the team, apparently. He's playing scared. Josh Allen was Mush Allen.
Very much.
Breece Hall had a terrible game.
He did.
Roshan was Roshoff.
Gus Edwards was bad despite the touchdown.
Gus Edwards was bad despite the touchdown. He did get
Micah
one.
Parsons?
You just can't even tell. Micah Parsons was overhyped.
Holy shit. In a game where they absolutely obliterate, like, they had to have just pulled him,
Micah
right?
Parsons
I did not watch that game because fuck that
game.
He
didn't do shit. He didn't do shit.
I was watching the Red Zone broadcast, and it was just constantly playing that fucking game. Constantly. I'm like, why?
You basically saw the whole game because like everything was a fucking scoring play, which is.
Well, I wasn't paying attention to whether or not Micah Parsons was. I was just more like annoyed that they were showing that fucking game.
Micah Parsons was nowhere to be found. Everybody else did something. Literally everybody else did something. Micah Parsons took the day off, and so did Jalen Petre. Who just disappointingly in a close game that they did won, just like did nothing. So
I was wondering, is that more of an indicator of him just being so good that he's blanketing his guy and he's not getting targets? Or did he just actually have a bad game where he was just like
actually had a
out
bad
of sync
game
with the defense and everyone else is making plays?
Because Peter's a tackle guy. I think what it means is that the linebackers generally stepped up. And that
I saw Will Anderson had a good decent game.
Yeah, exactly. So
and he's a hybrid guy, I think, right? He's one of those hybrid linemen.
Anderson had a 2.5 point game. He really didn't. He's
outside linebacker, but he hops up on D end every once in a while.
Yeah,
but watching that game, I saw it's
He
like
was-
didn't
he
translate
was
to
more
fantasy.
impactful than the
Yeah.
fantasy showed for sure.
He was
in that
gobbling
game.
up blocks, you know.
You know, but I mean, and conversely, we have Owens, you know, Simone Biles' husband, who had, you know, got a bajillion tackles in a PD and showed up,
And
but
Oluokun still
only in the wrong situation.
Yeah, Luokan was
So-
pretty much the only bright spot on your roster other than Jaden
Homie
Reed.
is forever my bae.
Yo,
Oh,
Luokan
yeah.
is a beast.
Sorry about your call, screwing you in 2 leagues.
Yeah, that's the double L. The PsyOp League loss actually hurts more than you can imagine because of how I am in contention for playoffs. And you have put me like right in the running with someone else. So
Yeah, you should definitely feel bad about that one because my team
Yep.
sucks in that league.
yeah, you have Dak and the stupid Giants no-show game.
Dude,
like
shout out to
completely
Dak.
decimated me.
Dak is fucking killing it right now. Last couple
Dak
weeks,
is having a moment.
He's been the best quarterback in football, like not just
threw it in
fantasy.
my mouth.
I know.
Well, also
it's so
fantasy, too.
I
bad.
won't
having a
say
moment.
it. I won't say it.
But someone has to, man. Someone
he's been
has
balling,
to.
man.
Somewhere
That's
Skip
it.
Bayless is punching air. He's like,
He's jetting his lizard skin. Really, like,
yeah.
Oh, that's great.
All right, Ben and Trevor.
Yo.
Yo, what the fuck happened here? You shit on Ben.
Ben sucks.
You shit on Ben.
Nah.
Ben. Oh, Ben.
I'm kidding.
Ben
I mean,
played
kidding.
You're not
I'm
wrong.
kidding.
game here.
Ben's-
Ben,
I
yeah,
mean,
Ben did play a decent
Ben
game.
is
He just,
1-9 though. Doesn't lie.
Yeah.
his flex failed him. His IGP failed him.
Yep.
You
Yeah,
know, his defense isn't that good. They don't score more than 10 points.
Let's
so
look-
it's like
Let's
Yeah,
look
I
at
think that's it.
the problems here. We had
It's-
Saquon, Devontae, Christian Watson. He fucking sucks, dude.
see, but
He's-
Saquon
Watson
isn't a
is
problem.
not good.
Adams isn't a problem. Those are fine performances.
Najee's
They're
fine.
floor, but it's not bad. Najee actually fucking scored for you. Like,
He did.
Holy shit.
Yeah, Najee did.
He did.
great.
But it's his defense. His defense does nothing every week. And then so it's
Yeah.
like one of those things where if you're
Highsmith can show up.
our
Hutchinson
league is so
still
structured around defense that if you don't have a good defense, you're not gonna win.
yeah.
Yeah.
You picked good players, like in a sense of in the real game of football, these guys are great.
Aiden
but-
Hutchinson is still good
Might
for
be the best
fantasy.
corner in the league.
Yeah, Aiden
Yeah.
Hutchinson
Like,
is,
arguably.
But
I
like,
mean-
to what you're
and
saying
so is
though.
Alex Highsmith. But
Um,
You should be starting Terrell.
But Pat Surtain is better for real life football than
much
fantasy at
better,
this point
yeah.
because
Yeah.
he's not going to draw targets. Like you
Yeah,
don't throw it that
exactly.
kind of
you don't
player.
throw it at him.
He gets
yeah,
the
no.
Yeah.
he gets the island effect.
But when he does
not-
get targets, he's just going to shit on you. Like he's the upside player where it's like he's going to get a pick. He's going to get a pick six.
Where if they decide they're
Or a
going to
P-
throw at the
or a couple
WR3 that
PDs,
he's
I mean,
covering,
right.
like
You're kind of hoping like, oh, he's covering their Jamar Chase or their AJ Brown.
Yeah.
You're kind of hoping that Denver's putting them on their best, and they have no choice but to throw the ball to their best player that Pat Surtain is shadowing. So that's
I'm
kind
pretty
of your
sure
hope.
he was covering Diggs all
Yeah, that's why
day,
Diggs
so-
didn't go off.
That's why Diggs didn't have any points. 'Cause
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got just enough to beat Steve in redraft though.
in RCM. Yeah, well,
I almost
we knew
cursed.
that
I
was
was
gonna
like, oh, he wipes his ass at 3 points, and then he gets 6.
literally
6, yeah.
four.
enough.
Or was it 4? Yeah,
Four and a
anyway.
half.
I was like,
4.9.
holy fuck. I'm sorry. I was about to be like, I'm sorry, Trevor. I fucked you up again.
No, it was just enough.
Denzel Ward got a neck injury. I mean, he's good, but like, yeah, that's tough
Yeah,
because
that's a
it
tough
looked
throw.
really bad. It looked like he might be out for the season, sort of injury, but it ended up being pretty minor actually.
Just a stinger. You just got a stinger.
Yeah, stingers can be really weird though, because it's like they can either
You
like
can't look. You won't be able
Yeah.
to look for left or right, so you won't be able to play for a while. But
yeah.
As long
Pinch
as you don't
pinch
get
nerves
dual-
suck.
Like dual stinger thing that ends your career because it
Right.
wasn't a stinger. Like I don't know if you guys know that story, but yeah.
no, I don't. All I know is I got a stinger and I immediately got a neck roll and never got one ever again. So
Yeah, you're a fan of the neck roll. You like Leighton Vander Esch out there with his
Facts.
Dracula shit.
It's
going
so
on.
useful if you use your helmet at all to hit people. Which, when I was growing up and playing, I used the corner of. You're not supposed to use the top of your head, but I used the corner of my face mask right here, and I'd lean in with my shoulder, and I'd hit them with that big surface area and knock them on their ass.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you get stingers that way. If you don't have a neck roll, you get a stinger.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Whipped. Divine Diablo's back, and he looks good. So there is hope for you, Ben. He's Divine Diablo is a good player,
bro. You're gonna go off in the loser bracket.
Oh yes.
Yeah, no. His points four is like middle of the pack. He just can't convert any of it into like actual win.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's brutal.
Yeah. Your schedule hasn't been easy either. Your schedule's been really hard all year.
He's going up against like the buzzsaw every week. It feels like.
Like what is his points against right now? He has the most points against. Literally the most. 1872. Like that's insane.
That is insane. It is
all
really frustrating.
All year you've held that shitter title where you've just been getting absolutely dumpstered on by every single team.
Yeah, I mean him and John were kind of battling.
Because you actually have more points for than a couple of teams on here. Like you have more points for than Casey, and Casey's in 6th. Yeah, like. Your team's not bad. It's just you've been getting you've been getting fantasy every week.
Yeah, he's been having the nightmare season. That's like I can't put together a good fucking play every week, and then I lose by 2.
Curse.
Yeah, he took the Joe curse.
Took the Joe curse
He took the curse from Joe and John. Like mid-season, it's like the soul got sucked out of them and then went into Ben. And now Ben's cursed. So you gotta win to get rid of it.
It's because you like Green Bay. I'm just gonna put that out there, dude.
All 3 of us.
It's the Green Bay curse. You can't have a Green Bay icon, dude. Like, get rid of that, and I bet you start winning games.
Yeah, you gotta fire your coach and rebrand your team, dude. You gotta do what Steve did. Steve changed the Green Bay tank. He's tanking, and now he's winning games. So you gotta do something drastic. Well, yeah, you suck now, but the last 2 weeks were pretty good.
Tank operating as intended, not rolling over people. Okay. Indeed, tanking.
I mean, the other thing about his team in general is like he's heavily invested in the Raiders, the Giants, and he lost 3 of his first 3 the first 3 games of the season didn't have Burrow, and it's just like that's not great.
That's kind of brutal.
Yeah, and it's not like Burrow's been producing this year that like he should be.
The same way.
Like we were saying earlier, it's just they're one of those teams where it's like the offense is so disappointing because it's just injuries have completely messed. Like they're doing fine in real football terms, but they're dysfunctional.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever watch Flumlo Raps, you see him lose his mind every fucking week.
Yeah, because he's an actual Bengals, not like bandwagon. Like, we drafted Joe Burrow and we went to the Super Bowl. He's like down bad Bengals from like 15 years ago fan. Like he was a kid watching that shit.
Ocho Cinco days, man.
Yeah.
I loved Ocho Cinco when he was playing on the Bengals. That shit was hilarious.
Ocho Cinco is still great.
Ocho Cinco and Sharp, their podcast is can get pretty fun.
Oh, it's so good.
It is good.
Those dudes are funny.
Sharp fucking told him he wasn't a Hall of Famer. Like that's
because he's not a Hall of Famer because of what he did. Do you remember why he's not a Hall of Famer?
No, honestly.
So when Ocho Cinco was in his prime, one day he came to the field with a golden jacket that said Hall of Famer on the back of it. And the NFL took they were so fucking mad that they said to him right then, after that game, they fined him like $100,000. And they were like, "You're never going to be in the Hall of Fame." And they said it right to him. They're like, "We're never letting you in the Hall of Fame because
that's
of this."
brutal.
And so that's why he's not a Hall of Famer. But he was a Hall of Famer wide receiver, period. Like he just was.
Yeah, he should be in there.
It was it's the different. The difference is that. It's like Terrell Owens, where he pissed enough people off. The only difference is he directly
Yep.
He directly went after the Hall of Fame thing.
Yep. I mean, there was a point in time where him and T.O. were on a team, and it just didn't even work out because they're too big of stars.
Yeah, too big egos.
Too big egos.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Anyways.
So, yeah,
sorry Ben. I didn't even...
That's rough.
Yeah.
So,
my team's dying and somehow beat you.
Well, you got Brock Purdy, who, it was a good trade.
Purdy's doing fine.
You traded Peanuts pick
right.
for a good backup quarterback, pretty much, because, I'm assuming you're going to play Matt Stafford whenever he's healthy.
He's out. I'm playing Josh Dobbs.
But I was going to say Josh Dobbs.
I mean, it's
Josh Dobbs putting up 30 points a week, bro. I might as well just throw him in.
Dude's so impressive. So get this. He has 5 touchdowns as a Viking. Yeah, Zach Wilson has that many touchdowns the entire season.
Yeah.
The one thing that I will say about Josh Dobbs, and this also applies to Sam Howell, is they're the perfect fantasy quarterback. They're one read to the guy that's open, and if they're not open, they're taking off running. And that is how you score fantasy points. If you have them, you should play them.
A lot of that also has to do with the scheme, because they actually use their best players and feature them, and they play up to their strengths. They're not these archetype style OCs that try and implement systems and do creative things to use gadget plays and do mind games. Like Arthur
the Vikings
Smith
feature their guys.
They take their players that are good at stuff and they evaluate them and figure out what they're good at and then mold the offense around it. It's similar to what Mike McDaniel's doing with Miami. He knows the players he has and then crafts the offense around it. That's why he's a genius. That's why everyone says he's a genius, is because he does things that best suit his players, and that's what the Vikings do.
They've been doing it for a long time, too.
Yeah, but who wants weed dealer Tyson Bagent? That's the real question.
Weed dealer?
He might be the guy on the waiver wire.
Yeah, I think you just drop him.
Because, the Bears, man.
He had a.
What do you mean? His first week in, where he really got to actually play, 23 points. His first 2 weeks
dealing weed
18,
to the kids,
15.
man.
I mean,
that's what he
15 points against the Chargers. He had 100% of the snaps.
He's like Sam.
Against New Orleans, he got 23 points. New Orleans isn't good. The Green Bay beat New Orleans. New Orleans isn't good.
What are you talking about? They got come on your mama, dude.
That's it.
That's all
I mean,
need.
Derek Carr fucking sucks.
They're
He's
not good.
ass.
Jameis Winston throwing passes.
Jameis Winston goes hard, kid.
Yeah,
Jameis
Winston
Crab
unlocked
legs.
that offense.
Crab legs, interception machine.
Yes.
Go,
It's
Burr.
Yeah, dude. It's
He
Tua's
throws the
dad.
ball to Chris Olave.
You were just calling Miami good earlier. It's Tua's dad.
It
What
is
the
Tua's
fuck are
dad.
you talking about? Do you be consistent, bro?
He came from Miami too. He started his
He's pre-Tua.
Florida.
He was at Tampa.
He's a Florida team.
Yeah.
I think
He played
Tua
for the
is
Seminoles.
more
Same
accurate
fucking
than
swamp,
Jameis,
man.
But yeah,
I get it.
Same problems, definitely.
Hey man, Jameis got my guy A.T. Perry his first touchdown.
Yeah, Jameis Winston's the GOAT. We all know. Derek Carr sucks.
Facts.
Derek Carr does suck.
They should have had
Carr's
Jameis
washed.
in there a long time ago. I love
Well,
Jameis Winston, man. He's
Earlier
a
in the
great
season, Derek Carr came out for one play. Jameis came in and threw a pick, and then they pulled him and then put Carr back in. It was fucking awesome. I was like, that's what I want. I want that guy. I'm serious. Look at his stats. He has a game where he came in, he played one snap and has a pick. And that's it. I was like, yes. Fucking Jameis is still in the league. Let's go.
Jameis is just a fun quarterback.
Amazing.
He may not be good,
I'm
but he's
finding
just
this.
fun to watch.
Yeah.
He just throws that shit up, and it's like, this is going to be either
Who's
the
gonna
greatest
get
thing
it?
I've ever seen, or it's
Who's
gonna be
gonna get
an
it?
offline.
Oh shit! It was a DB. At least it was by their 10-yard line. We're good. We'll get that back, right? Defense. The defense is jogging on the field, giving him the stink eye, you motherfucker.
It was against Tampa, which makes it even worse. It's a division game.
His old team
He shows
too.
up. Yeah, his old team.
He did that on purpose.
Yeah, he's like, here you go.
He just
He's
was
I
fuck
remember
it.
those jerseys. I like this jersey.
Yeah, that could
Is
have
that
been
Chris
it.
Godwin?
He was high as shit. He tried to throw it out
Godwin's
there
in
to a
there.
fucking Tampa Bay player.
Can't think it. I can't think straight. Too many concussions. Too many crab legs.
Austin Eckler had a great game. It was part of that score, like like high school game that happened in the pros this weekend. DK Metcalf.
That high school game, yo.
DK Metcalf had an awesome fourth quarter. That's pretty much his game.
The last, not even fourth quarter, 45 seconds. He went
for real.
The last 45 seconds of the game, he scored 90% of his points.
Yeah, because it was like, oh, this is going to overtime. Because it was like, oh, Gino has the ball. We got to drive all the way down the field. That's not going to happen. And he's just like, dunk, dunk, dunk.
Like,
and
oh, wait, I forgot I had DK. Let me just give that ball to him really quick.
He was
just
just
one of the most frustrating things in the entire world to watch the Seahawks not throw the ball to DK on a route that isn't an out. It is absolutely frustrating.
So it's like,
all I gotta do is dump it off to him over the middle in front of the fucking DBs that are sitting zone, like they did in that hurry up offense. Every play they could do it.
We run DK on out routes.
I know, but I'm saying they could do that every single fucking play, and they don't.
Yeah, but that's because Shane Waldron just wants to run out routes.
No.
He's just fucking out there running out routes for DK because for some reason that's the fucking plan.
This is what I think the issue is. This is what I think the issue is. Shane Waldron has too many weapons, and he feels like there's too much pressure on him.
Can't use them.
Well, there's too much pressure on Shane Waldron to get all of his guys involved. Like, you see it with the usage of Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet. It's like they do this 50-50 split thing with the touches. Like, they don't give all the carries they don't split the carries up that much, but like they put Kenneth Walker out there, and then they pull him mid-drive, and then they put Charbonnet in there, and then they pull him out, and they put Kenneth Walker. It's not like they do like, okay, first quarter is going to be this guy, second quarter is going to be the other guy, and then third quarter is going to be the other guy, and they don't alternate. It's just like every other play is like a different guy in the run, in the backfield, and then for the wide receivers, it's like, oh, I have to get JSN this. I have to get him this many touches. He needs to get this share of the targets, but we need to get DK involved. Oh, we got to make sure that we get Tyler Lockett a couple balls thrown his way too. It's like he's trying to spread the offense out to get guys statistically involved, and it's like, dude, just come up with an identity and then go with that. Like, can we just force feed DK or force feed K9 or throw to the tight ends a lot, or like do something consistent?
Because Gino is a designed play guy, what they should do is design every play, every throwing play for Lockett, and make Gino start doing reps, stepping up fucking 1 yard and throwing it over the middle to DK if he can't find Lockett open.
Yeah.
Like, if Lockett's not open, dump it to DK. Like, it's really not that fucking hard of a concept, and they just don't fucking do it. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
One read.
This
Smith
is like
has trouble.
This isn't about like the scheme. This is just something a more general like thing of how we use players. Also, stop fucking rotating players in, like Scott was just talking about. Like, stop doing that. Just let them do the whole drive. Rotate them out per drive or something. Stop rotating them in halfway through.
Every position is a fucking committee. It's like our tight ends are a committee, our running backs are a committee, our wide receivers are a committee. It's like, why are we trying to mix it up that much? I understand.
Also, we've Forsyth, Jason Peters. It's like, why are we switching out linemen?
Right.
What the fuck is wrong with us?
Right. Jason Peters also was solid as fuck for being a 41-year-old in this game. I just wanted to shout him out. He played really well.
Jesus, man, it's 41 on the line.
Jason Peters, 41.
Future Hall of Fame tackle.
He might be a first ballot dude for, like, honestly.
Just
41
for
years old.
longevity's sake. Holy shit.
Yeah. Let's get back on topic here.
Yeah. We got pretty derailed.
All right. Highly derailed.
Michael
Mayer
was good.
Whoa, he did great, bro. What are you talking about?
He did great. I mean, he got a touchdown.
For a fucking for a rookie that hasn't been involved in the offense at all until week 6, like, I'm cool with him on my bye week getting me 10 points.
Yeah, 5 receptions is solid.
There is
targets
and a tud.
Mm-hmm.
5. I mean, the Raiders are a new team.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Godwin failed me.
He's been really disappointing this season.
Yeah.
Well, over the last few seasons, he's been relatively disappointing.
Well, last season he was hurt.
Last year he was hurt, and then he was great.
Yeah.
He
last season he was hurt, which is why he was frustrating. But when he was playing, he was money. This season he's healthy and he's disappointing, which is really concerning. Now I was wondering
Baker
if that's more about Baker. I was wondering if it's a Baker thing or if Chris Godwin's lost a step. I think it's more likely it's just a Baker Mayfield thing.
It's a Baker thing.
Because Baker, we know what Baker is. He's
Baker
one read. He's basically basically Geno. He's just gonna throw to the first read.
Well, he's too fucking short to see over the line, so he at least has an excuse.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing
he can always see Mike Evans because he's so huge.
6'5", and so he can see Mike Evans.
Yeah.
Mike Evans is also really fucking good at football, but so is Chris Godwin. It's just that he's not the first read. I don't know if it's also a scheme thing. I don't watch Tampa Bay games too closely.
No,
but
no, I really don't do that either.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're not utilizing Chris Godwin the way that they've utilized him in the past with Bruce Arians, because it just something's wrong with his output this season. He's okay, but you didn't draft him to be okay. I'm sure when you pick Godwin, you're this is going to be locked in.
Yeah, he's a 1,000-yard guy.
Yeah.
He only has 522 yards, and we're more than halfway through the season.
Yeah, he probably will be at 800, 900 yards. He probably won't break 1,000, which is super disappointing.
Especially with a 17-game season. Yeah.
I don't know, man. He's been disappointing me. But it's all right because my defense
They did good this week, yeah. You didn't have one of those blow-off top fucking 30...
Well, that's because TJ Watt's not having out-of-body experiences every week, He does his thing.
Yeah.
He stays above 10 points every week.
He is when TJ Watt was out last year, you could tell the difference with Pittsburgh's defense. It was night and day. TJ Watt is way better than his brother.
Yeah.
He's already surpassed.
They're not the same thing. They're not the same player. They're completely different positions.
Slightly different positions.
But JJ was a fucking force, man. He was way bigger. He was way bigger than TJ. I've met them both in real life, and TJ gets dwarfed by JJ. So it comes down to he was just getting 3 blockers on him every fucking play, and it's hard to get 3 blockers on TJ because he's just gonna make you miss, and he's gonna get the sack, or he's gonna
freaky fast. He's really all fast switch muscles.
Yeah, and
basically just can slither through anything.
The only reason JJ Watt wasn't more seemed to fall off in his later Houston years is because Aaron Donald showed up and completely redefined the DT position. And got all the love because there's only so much love you can give defenses in football.
Not this season. This season's all about defense.
McAtag, for every time I put him in, gets less than 10 points. So if I put him in,
he's got to be on your bench. Yeah, in order to pop off.
Yeah.
Luke Wilson had a full game.
Luke Wilson always has a full game. Logan Wilson is awesome.
Logan does great every week. He has a couple of bad weeks this year, but most of his weeks have been great.
Cincinnati's defense is really chippy. They make mistakes, but overall they're really productive in terms of
AFC North. The AFC North in general as a division is easily the most has the most complete
most physical football comes out of that division for sure.
Yeah.
And my DBs are just DBs. Yeah.
Yeah, you got floor guys for DBs.
Double 8.
Not a lot of upside. But that's fine, because you have
double ones.
You make up for it with your veteran offensive players that can go score a shit ton of points. You're really deep offensively because you in your startup draft strategy was to pick guys that are good now. So you have a lot of guys that score a lot of points offensively, which is why you and Jordan have some of the most high scoring teams on the season, is because you have a lot of the veteran offensive weapons that are still relevant and will be for a while.
I think somehow me and him and now John have 200 more points than most other teams in the league.
Yeah, John definitely went with a similar strategy to you guys. He picked up a lot of. He's oh, this guy in redraft has been really fucking good. Picked him.
Yeah, and then he went and fixed his defense.
And he fixed his defense from the wire. So same with Jordan to a degree. His defense was dog shit, and then he patched together some good guys from the wire, just like Jordan or Josh did. Josh finally fixed his defense just in time for playoffs. So,
dude, I don't even understand how you fix DB. I've tried. Tavarius was my last pick, like 2 weeks ago, and like I don't even know what to do, man. It's so tough picking players like that you don't really watch. Like I barely watch DBs because I fucking hate DBs. They're just bad receivers.
I guess you gotta watch some bad receivers.
Like the only DB that I ever thought was really good was Richard Sherman, and that's because he was actually a really good receiver in college, and he just decided he wanted to be the best DB rather than trying to fight for being the best receiver in the league. He decided, I'm going to go be the best DB in the league, and he did it.
Right.
So it was like one of those...
John Harbaugh, it was John Harbaugh, I think, was also like just his biggest nemesis.
Yeah.
And he's just a spiteful person.
Yes.
I think, so for fantasy, like DB has been really interesting. Like the biggest value you get from DBs are big plays, obviously, because of the way the scoring works. So I think generally the really toolsy safeties and corners that do more than just follow guy, play man, basically, like the zone coverage corners that can disrupt plays at the line are the ones that are really valuable. Like
and nickels, nickel corners are really valuable too.
Yeah, or safeties that also play that nickelback spot. Yeah. Like
because like a good example of like is okay. So the 3 DBs that I generally like to play, just because like they're good for a play.
Well, you have Devon Witherspoon. That's a perfect example of the kind of guy that you want for fantasy because he's just fucks people up.
Well, it's Witherspoon, McDuffie, and Duggar all play that same kind of like nickel zone kind of position, and they're all generally good for a big play.
They generate a lot of turnovers. Like Kyle Duggar had 3 pick sixes last year.
Yeah, and he's got 2 interceptions this year.
He's got 2 interceptions this year. Yeah,
he's got a sack. Like both him and Witherspoon have sacks. Like McDuffie's good for a fumble, like a forced fumble every like other game or something, and like a bunch of tackles. Like I think he had an 11 tackle game this year. It's like that's not normal for a corner.
Like we gave Steve shit for dropping Jair Alexander, but like it kind of makes sense. Like I understood when you explained like the reason was just because he's too good as a cornerback. Like it doesn't make sense to keep him on my roster because he's probably not going to get that many interceptions.
Yeah, people aren't going to throw
he
it.
Might get him, but people aren't going to throw at him.
It's tough to figure out what offense is going to give him that interception, though.
Exactly.
Yeah. The island effect is not easy for sure.
Yeah. That's a level of gambling that I do not engage in.
Yeah.
You, sir, are no fun.
There are some defenses there that really rely on safeties, though, for a lot of their tackling.
Yeah, like the Seahawks.
Until recently, the Texans were one as well. But the Texans' defense.
I mean, they're not Earl Thomas.
A little bit more.
Yeah,
it's hard to be Earl Thomas.
Earl Thomas was one of one, though. That dude was a fucking monster.
But there are other teams out there.
We also haven't seen Cam. Well, we haven't. There hasn't been a Cam since Cam, and the closest thing is Jamal, and the difference between that is like the 6th overall pick and a 5th rounder. So
Yeah.
Well,
that's pretty much all I had for this matchup. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to bring up?
No. Sorry, Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rough.
Start thinking to the future, man.
Are we just
that draft is gonna go hard for you, bro?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, you got some hype.
Like I understand like the whole point of like the points for the draft order, but like for the ranking, like this kind of thing, he's 1 and 9. I don't like. He kind of deserves the 101, but I don't know if he's gonna get it.
So are we going off of worst record, or are we going off of the loser bracket?
It's by worst record. So if you,
it is by worst record.
Yeah, that's why.
Draft
This is
position
why.
by worst record.
This is
Okay,
why.
so never mind. Don't go off in the loser bracket. Just lose.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to install a last place punishment, because I didn't want people breaking the game by throwing. You know, I wanted people to continue to compete.
Yeah, what is
towards
this? What
the
is the
end.
Sacco this year?
I think we settled on paying for I think either one of the trophies or buying food. I'll have to check the Constitution. Yeah.
Can we also make like a really shitty trophy for the Sacco that they have to carry out?
That's a good idea. That's a good. I'll figure something out for whoever.
By the way, this is a public call out to Danny to get me that art.
Yeah,
so
Danny just
that shit ordered.
Danny just got back from vacation, so he's been busy.
We are running out of time here on this, and I have let you. You have the email. Public call out.
We'll figure it out.
Get her done.
Yeah, I want my belt.
We don't want to be left hanging. Yeah, we want these personalized belts and trophies. It's important.
All right, we're starting to run a little long here, so let's get through Matt and Casey here.
I thought we did that already. That matchup.
You did?
No, we didn't.
Yeah, you did.
I know we didn't, but I thought we did for some reason.
Well, we've talked about a lot of these players already. Like we know, like Geno Smith, like was definitely pumped up by some incredible plays made by his offensive pieces, but he also had a decent game where he didn't turn the ball over like a dingus. And had a really good fourth quarter.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about Geno Smith anymore. We could talk about Bijan Robinson.
Bijan Robinson blew up. That's great.
He finally had a good game again. He's back in form.
Although he was returning punts, so Arthur Smith is a fucking psychotic dumbass. Like
he's gonna be here forever, man. We're never gonna get rid of him.
You could talk about Arthur Smith on your matchup, because I know you want to at the end of your matchup.
Fucking hate
just
Arthur
hate him so much.
Hold it.
But I mean, CeeDee Lamb, like, my God, has been going off.
Yo, it's his time, bro. All of a sudden, it's his time.
Yeah, it's true.
So he broke an NFL record this game. It's like consecutive games with a touchdown, over 150 yards with 10 catches. Some fucking weird ass record like that, but
silly one.
It goes without saying that he is literally the best wide receiver in the league currently. He's the best player, hands down, in fantasy football. He made an insane play in the third. Like, this is probably the only part of this game I actually paid attention to. Dak was getting pressured and he threw the ball away, but it was just short of the boundary. And CeeDee Lamb ran backwards like 15 yards, caught it, and turned it into a positive play. It was ridiculous. This dude is going crazy right now. So,
I mean, we can say whatever we want, but Jerry Jones, I think, actually knows how to draft.
He also knows how to cultivate a culture that gets players to want to play for you. Like the whole thing about, like, if you're a cowboy, you're a cowboy for life. Like, you will always have a job. I will take care of you is a cool message to send your players, and I respect that a lot. Fuck the Cowboys fans,
you
though.
seen his Counter-Strike team, dude?
Yeah, he's breaking into, like, esports and he's doing all sorts of crazy shit. He's
fucking Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry Jones is a sports guy. You know,
Well, I guess I'm kind of biased because I lived in Texas for a while, and in Texas he's a god.
Of course, he is.
People treat him as a god there.
And
so
he has Jerry World. Yeah.
I literally have nothing bad to say about him other than he's just a rich oil tycoon, but he cares.
Dude, there's nothing wrong. I really don't have a problem with Jerry Jones. It's just the Cowboys fans, honestly. Like,
I fucking hate Cowboys.
The fact that they're in my conference, of the team that I like the most, and the fact that the Cowboys fans exist are the only issues with the Cowboys. Like, yeah, they had the kind of...
Wait, so you don't like the Seahawks the most now?
No, that's what I'm saying, is like the Seahawks are my favorite team, and they play in our conference, which means that they are competition for the Super Bowl every year. And that's fucking annoying when they're good.
Are they though?
Well, I mean, as long as Dak can
Not
remember,
historically.
They flop first game playoffs every
as
year.
long as Dak can remember what the game clock is at in the fourth quarter, they're kind of scary in the playoffs.
Yeah, they flop every year in the playoffs.
Yeah, they always do disappoint. Who'd they get bounced by last year? Wasn't it the Giants?
Yeah, it's the Giants.
Yeah. That is fucked.
Super embarrassing.
That is
the
fucked.
Giants.
That maybe explains the 48-7.
Yeah.
A little bit.
No, 89-17. Don't forget what happened the opening game of the season.
Yeah, with zero.
Right.
Where they got zero. They
Oh,
scored
yeah.
like 40 points to 0. 40 to 0.
Right.
Dude, they're I mean, the Giants and the Cowboys rivalry is as old as time. Like,
Yeah, the Cowboys embarrassed
they
them.
fucking hate each other. And I'm cool with that cuz like fuck New York teams too. So,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, no kidding.
I don't mind the Cowboys kicking the shit out of the Giants. That's fine.
And again, the Giants are starting Joe Pesci's character from Goodfellas. So fuck them.
Yeah,
Jonathan Taylor, he's back.
He's back, yeah.
Yeah.
He
Yeah, he
put
did fine.
Zach Moss
He had
back in his place.
He had a floor game, but
It's
So
just good to
Ford's
see.
doing good.
yeah, it's good to see him.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
it's
Douglas
like,
had a
it makes
Douglas had a
sense.
pretty good game. A New England player had a fantasy relevant game in a London game.
What's
That's a
his
rare
name?
sight.
What's his name? Pop Douglas.
Yeah, Pop Douglas.
Yeah,
Pop.
Pop.
It's like, dude, that's what the Patriots need is they don't have any swagger. Like once Gronk and Brady were gone, that team has had no fucking identity. There's no sex appeal to that
Edelman.
team at all. Like, yeah, they had Edelman, but like the prototypical fucking shifty white guy on the Patriots, like who fucking cares? Like Gronk was a fucking mountain of a man, and he played in a position that historically has been like.
First of all, Edelman was a midget, and he was pretty much like one of the best receivers in the league at like 5'5". So it's like obviously he's not 5'5",
I mean, he was the
but
best of the shifty white guys.
Yeah.
that he's not typical at all.
like-
That's not prototypical.
I miss the like James White style running back that Bill had back there in his backfield because he was just like the PPR monsters. Like he gets like 10 targets and he's effective and he's fast and he's kind of like he's like the Austin Eckler. He's like the Patriots Austin Eckler, but it's like not as good. But like
Well,
now, what do they have?
Lift on like
Nothing.
the last like 5 years of their first 3-round picks.
That's
Here's
because
the thing: once Brady left, no one wants to sign with them because they know that they're a dying, rebuilding team, and that they're not going to see success until Belichick leaves. And as much as I like, Belichick's one of the best coaches in the history of football. However, his time is over, and once he's pushed out, and he's maybe a GM, and they get a new coach in, they might be able to recover their team, but it's not going to happen until then.
He's
just
literally hanging on for a record.
Yeah, the only reason he's there is for the record, so that he can go and retire. Like
he has literally ruined their drafts for the past like 4 seasons though. Like Mac Jones is terrible.
Awful.
N'Keal Harry was a huge bust.
Well, because of the way that they draft is so weird. They don't go to pro days. They don't go to
it's all weird.
to the combine. They hold their own tryouts privately with players they like from college, which is an okay thing to do, but it's weird. Like
it's not translating. Like if it was working, then we'd be
It's
like,
all
used to-
imitation
it
only, but,
used
I mean,
to work
basically it
20
speaks
years
to bad
ago.
scouting.
well, yeah, like 20 years it worked, but all these last couple of years it hasn't.
yeah.
Well, they also pulled their own version of LJ Collier by drafting Cole Strange because he was a 3rd rounder they took in the 1st. Like,
Yeah.
they've got some major misses.
I mean, Tom Brady really propped that team up, and like people always talk about like, oh, it was just Belichick's defense that carried Tom Brady. He wasn't really that good, but it's like no, Tom Brady was was the prolific passing quarterback. He was the guy.
Right, but they also had one of the best defenses in the league.
They also had one of the best defenses in the league.
Yeah, the pairing
and
is what won the championship.
they had a quarterback who wasn't so in his head that he was willing to take one for the team and take a shitty deal for himself to get the right pieces on that roster to win championships. And that's what you got to do.
As much as people hate on Tom Brady, the man was intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
He took pay cuts. So he had small checks coming in the mail, but that meant that his line could succeed, his defense could succeed.
Yep.
And
he got
could
protection.
get weapons around him.
I think a lot of that.
And
the best
on top of that,
he could Gronk just catch the ball wherever because Gronk was really good.
Well, he could throw a pick, right? Get mad at himself for one series, and go back to the bench, completely forget about it, and then go back on the field like nothing happened.
That's such an important trait.
When you can do that, you're an elite quarterback.
Yep.
That's what I talked about it when Jalen Hurts threw that pick during that game where all he needed to do was go right back down and get into field goal position and score and win. But they couldn't because he just kept throwing picks after that because he was so frustrated with himself that he couldn't get out of his own fucking head.
Yeah.
And so that is a sign of a not elite quarterback. Like you can tell when quarterbacks get flustered and when they can't play. It's really easy.
Yeah. It's a really mental. It's kind of like the same thing as kickers. Like if you get the yips as a quarterback, it's real bad. And the guys that can hack it for 10 plus years, like Kirk Cousins, those kinds of players are the ones that can make an awful play, basically like, oh, we just lost the game kind of play, and then go to the bench, and then next drive, it's like it didn't happen. It's 0-0.
Every coach I ever had is 90% mental, 20% physical, and we always put out 110% effort, right? So it's like one of those things where the game of football is more mental than it is physical, and people just don't realize it because these genetic fucking freaks athletes are what we see on TV every day when they're playing. You know, and
there's
obviously
so much that goes into it.
It's a physical game, but it's way more mental than people give it credit for.
For sure. Totally agree with that. Garrett Wilson would be a wide receiver 1 on another team. Zach Wilson is so fucking
the wide
bad.
receiver 1. That's the
no, like
he's
fantasy,
a wide receiver,
like top,
fantasy what? Oh yeah,
like top 15. Like we would be talking about him like Amon-Ra St. Brown or AJ Brown. Maybe not like
you said about Olave. It's like their quarterback situation sucks, and so they're relegated to 2 or 3.
Florida had a floor game. Bosa had a quiet.
On the bright side of
the other
this
Bosa
matchup,
had a big game.
Casey, your defense is doing good, other than your DB. You know, like your defense
Fred
is
Warner,
doing great.
Josh Allen's trying his best, and the Giants got cooked.
Giants got absolutely slammed. Hey, let's talk about Casey for we went through Matt's team there, but
Josh Jacobs did fine. Bijan had finally the game that we've expecting from Bijan.
I mean, Ayuk had a very average game.
Ayuk did his stuff. Mooney.
Well, Mooney's a Bear, so there you go.
Yeah, Bears.
You got Taysom Hill. Welcome to using Taysom Hill as your tight end club.
So this is what happens when Jameis comes in. Is like he's not having to make up for Derek Carr being fucking awful.
Mm-hmm.
Like they can do and also, Minnesota's defense was just like completely taking away the gadget kind of shit that he does. Like the way that their defensive scheme works pretty much neutralizes the Taysom Hill effect, which means that they pretty much forced them to play with Jameis, and you can see that honestly, in Taysom's stats.
Honestly, the Minnesota Vikings and the New Orleans Saints have now such a fucking historic rivalry from the past few years. It's one of the deepest interconference or interdivision
it's because of the playoff game, right?
There's a couple of them in a row.
Well, it was because of that really bad call that happened. So
the one where the player was murdered, literally, like he came out and got shot in the face, and they didn't call it.
That one definitely cemented it. But there had been 2 years prior where the Vikings had bumped the Saints, and then the Saints bumped the Vikings the year after. And then when the Vikings won on that one, it was bad news, but it totally cemented it down. And there's been bad blood there for like
It's similar to
8
the
or 9
Seahawks
years
and the
now.
Packers. Like there's hate.
Yeah.
There's hate
Yeah,
there.
there's some real
There's some
hate.
bad blood because
Yeah,
of some
there's bad
playoffs
blood going on.
bullshit.
Yep, exactly. Because of contention
Yeah.
and who's knocking who out, and like the wall that someone feels like they always run into.
Well, that's no longer a thing, so eventually.
Yeah,
it'll
Sean
die.
Payton's gone. Like,
Yeah, I don't think the Saints are going to be as relevant on that side anymore.
they're kind of like in this kind of liminal state where they need to rebuild, but like they can't fully
limbo.
commit because their defense is still elite, and they have enough good offensive guys. Like Chris Olave is awesome. Alvin Kamara is awesome.
All they need is a
They
QB.
need a QB.
Yeah,
All they need is a QB.
well, they need a quarterback and like
They'll find
a reliable. Like they need more like line. They need more help on the line. Like
available.
I don't think their line's terrible.
Yeah.
they could do with a good tight end, like a big bodied
So
tight
much
end.
what's wrong with that offense?
Yeah, they could do with a tight end and let Taysom Hill do something else. You know.
Yeah, have him be like the gadget running back guy, like that he is. He's actually really fucking good at that, and he's also good at passing. So like, I'm cool with like him doing the wildcat shit. Like you were saying, the wildcat is making a resurgence. I think that they could really pioneer that as a design, is to like do wildcat shit with Taysom Hill a lot.
Yeah.
The Saints are the top of their division?
Yeah, that division's a dumpster
That division
fire.
is a fucking dumpster fire. It has Carolina,
The Falcons
who traded
and
away
Carolina.
9 million picks for a quarterback when their most pressing need was an entire offense. And and then you have the Falcons and Arthur Smith and Tampa Bay. So yeah, the NFC South is fucking trash.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Actual dumpster fire.
For sure, but they're 5-5 and they lead the division. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, cool. It's that kind of scenario.
That's what it's like when you drive through that part of town and you smell the trash. That's the NFC South.
I think it's because the only reason they lead division is because early in the season, didn't they beat Tampa? So that's why they lead the division right now.
Right.
But you know.
No, Tampa's 4-5 because of bye shenanigans.
Oh yeah, bye. Okay.
That's bye shenanigans. The Buccaneers are a half game behind. And for some reason Google doesn't have the division records here. So
anyways,
Evan Ingram has 1 red zone target this season so far.
Let's move on. I gotta eat dinner.
Yeah, me too.
I'm hungry.
Evan Ingram's screwed.
All right. Let's talk about my game.
Yeah.
All right.
Dude, Goff.
Jared Goff went Goff.
Yeah,
he Geralded.
He got -2 yards on
carries. Those are kneel downs.
Lamar Jackson was tired from last week.
-2 yards is definitely kneel downs.
Yep. Yeah. So the thing with Lamar Jackson was super weird. Like Barted. Like he had a really bad pick six that basically fucked them at the end of the game.
Last week. Like even as many points as they scored against us, our defense was not that bad. Like our defense was actually doing great. Our offense couldn't stay on the fucking field. So like
they were just getting bodied by their defense.
So I'm not surprised Lamar had a tough week this week because of getting beat up.
Well, they also
being on the field all last week.
They also ran a lot again. This game heavily featured their running backs yet again, and their defense is just so efficient at generating turnovers that they get short fields all the time. So it's
but they losing to Cleveland like.
So this was a really fucking crazy game because like they had this in hand and they ended up losing to Deshaun Watson, who basically turned into 2018 Houston Texans Deshaun Watson for half of the fourth quarter, basically. Drove down the field. He just turned it up and had the best game of his Cleveland Browns career and ended up winning it for him. But it didn't help that Bart threw a pick six at the end of the game to tie it. Like that was a really, really bad play by Lamar. Yeah, but that was a really fucking exciting game. I was all about it.
If you could do that and just throw the ball to Amari, I can be okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah, K9. I was talking about it earlier. Like Shane Waldron is doing too much to try and get people involved. He did have a 64-yard monster touchdown on a check down play that Gino managed to get to him. But Bobo laid a huge block on a defender that made that possible. So thanks, Bobo, for the points. Brian Robinson, he's a quiet running back one. Like, he's had a really weird season where he's like really boom bust, but when he booms because he had a ton of receiving yard usage in this game. He got an 80-yard touchdown on a broken play against the Seahawks, and Sam Howell was just slinging it the entire game. He statistically was had a really awesome game. Honestly, they should have won that one. But a ill-timed penalty to Ben St. Just and Gino driving down the field at the end of the game there pretty much fucked him over.
Yeah, Sam Howell is he's like a top 5 fantasy quarterback this year. Like,
bro, he's number 1 in throwing passing yards.
Yeah, just because Eric Bieniemy is like, I have not Kansas City offense anymore. I don't care.
It's also that, like, hey, I'm trying to audition for my boss's job. When you fire him at the end of the year, like,
you mean for the Falcons? Speaking of which, dude,
no, I mean for I'm talking about the commies ownership group.
Trust the process.
Yeah, trust the process.
Danielle Hunter had a ridiculous spin move. Like, he was mashing circle button and fucking shit on that dude. He got a 7-figure bonus for that play. He's on 11 sacks this season. So good for him. Got the bag.
Somebody's gonna throw the bag at him.
Yeah.
So he's not gonna. You're benching him for the rest of the year, right?
Because of the 7-figure bonus.
Yeah.
No, man. I traded Chris Jones. I got to ride with him. Trevor has Chris Jones now. Of course, I'm gonna play Daniel.
He didn't fucking do anything for me though so far.
Well, he's on bye this week, so he can't do anything on bye.
2 points his first week for me, and then bye.
That's fucking brutal.
Rip.
Yeah, Drake London and Kyle Pitts, dude. Like, I don't. Arthur Smith lost this game against fucking Kyler Murray. So they lost against the guy who barely knows the names of the players that he's throwing to, and it's like week after week is just an embarrassing fucking disaster class from Arthur Smith. But he still gets to keep his job. Like, he has Bijan Robinson returning punts, and he doesn't.
Can we just take a moment, Scott, to recognize that Jonnu Smith and Kyle Pitts matched up in this and barely made over 5 points?
Kyle Pitts
head to head
led the Falcons in receiving.
Oof.
Yeah. He dude, so Taylor Heineke got taken out of the game because of a hamstring injury, I guess. And then Desmond Ridder comes back in. He looks exactly as ass as he did before.
He's still Desmond Ridder.
Like, so they did this. They did an interview with London after the game, and he was just like, he didn't know what to fucking say. Like, the reporter asked him a question, and he just like dead stare for like 15 seconds, and was just like, "It is what it is," basically. And it's like, dude. Arthur Smith has completely lost the locker room, and he's not going to get fired.
I mean, that's the exact same response, though, that, like, Stefan Diggs and James Cook gave after
that bad loss.
That loss. And that's probably why that dude got fired. It's because, like,
Stefan Diggs, like after losing to Cincy last season in the playoffs, straight up left, like, before the game was even over. It was like, he didn't even stay on the field for the kneel downs or anything. He didn't even shower. He just packed up the shit in his locker and then just left. That dude is fiery. He's like, he wants to win. That's why he left Minnesota, because he was like,
I'm the shit.
Yeah, because like Thielen was stealing his thunder. He wants to be the guy, and it's like now like Mush Allen is happening. And he's just pissed. Like I feel him on that one, man. You want players to be like that. Marquise Brown did nothing. Like Hollywood wasn't he. Kyler missed him on like a bomb touchdown, but like that was his only opportunity.
He got outscored by Michael Wilson.
Well, Trey McBride was the focal point of the offense.
Yeah, I mean, but on the same way, like
it's Kyler's
Michael
first
Wilson
game back. It's gonna take him a little while.
Yeah.
To get back into form.
That was good to see though. Is like Kyler comes back, like he had that ACL tear last year, but he looked like his mobility didn't seem like he had an injury at all. Like he even scrambled. He was like third and 10 or 3rd and 15 or something. Like game on the line. Like if you do not convert this, the ball goes back to Arthur Smith and he kneels it out. Situation at the end of the game.
To recover.
And he just scrambled for 14 yards and then just drove down the field and they ended up winning the game. Like Kyler's fine.
Looks good for somebody coming off an ACL.
Well, they gave him a lot of time. They didn't force him back on the field immediately.
They really, yeah exactly. They managed him
They had
perfectly.
Yeah.
Which is actually surprising for somebody a part of the Cardinals organization.
Fuck the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Like that team is now officially the worst run team in the league now that the commies have a new ownership group.
You guys want to talk about Danny?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Danny, you're finally like not playing.
You called out your
teams that are
luck, and
playing the worst.
now it's coming back at you. The reverse swing has come.
Danny made some really Trevor.
His injuries are starting to catch up with him.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
Michael Thomas. You know, it's like one of those things where like Mike Thomas had a really bad game, then he went and got himself arrested.
It's because a construction worker was talking shit and threw a brick at him, and he lost his shit.
No, the construction worker wasn't talking shit at all. Literally, they were just working right on a house across from him.
Yeah.
And then randomly, Mike Thomas picked up a brick and threw it through the guy's fucking windshield.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah. And
I heard there was a brick involved. But I guess Mike Thomas
is the one who threw a brick. Like, what the fuck are you doing, bro?
Jesus.
I think an update to his name is in order here, Danny.
Yeah.
The brick
Thomas. Yeah.
But Danny,
at least you have Myles Garrett and Jordan Whitehead though.
Here's the problem: his bench has all of his points. Like Kyle Hamilton had a pick 6. Simmons had a great game.
Deonta Foreman had 19 points.
Zaire Franklin had 15 tackles.
You never know when Deontay is going to go off. You never know if it's Brandon Cooks week.
On his bench? Oh, this is a fuck up.
This is a bad look.
Yeah, who do you play instead of that? Oh, yeah, no. I mean...
Yeah, he did fine.
Jenkins and Whitehead are good.
He did fine. He has 3 really good DBs. Like
Buda Baker is good.
Yeah, he's loaded at defensive back. Like I don't hate the Rashawn Jenkins play either. Like,
I don't hate any of these plays. I mean, even the Devondre Campbell one. Like
the only thing, like Kyle Hamilton is like he's
better.
playing a lot of snaps, he's getting a lot of tackles, and he's on like arguably the best defense in the league. Like I don't know, I would be playing him every week.
Personally. Yeah, I would. That's a set it and forget it guy for me.
But like, yeah, Justin Simmons is kind of a toss up. Zaire Franklin. It's like
I understand the Buda Baker one.
Different position,
but too. I mean, Rashawn Jenkins is the one I would have benched.
I was really afraid of Buda Baker having a crazy fucking game against Atlanta. He kind of did. Like 10 tackles is a lot, but I was expecting like an interception because the dog shit quarterback situation. But they just never passed the ball. I somehow avoided the future Hall of Famer Myles Garrett game. Like even though he had a 1.5 sacks and a handful of tackles is really good, but like we've seen what Myles Garrett can do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if he'd just played Kyle Hamilton, he would have fucking manhandled me.
I mean, and Foreman But like you don't. I mean.
But like you don't play Deonta when. I mean, I guess he did stack Tennessee
because you got to take away 10 points. So even if he did play Hamilton, he's still sitting at 150, and like he would have had to have played.
That's true.
He would have played Brandon Cooks.
Brandon Cooks over Mike Thomas,
and Hamilton, and then he would have been in contention.
He could have played. Cooks over Judy. I don't know. That seems pretty reasonable.
That's Judy playing Judy is pretty reasonable because like Brandon Cooks is old and like I guess they were playing the Giants, but like I was surprised. It was like every time I looked at the screen whenever the fucking that dog shit game was playing, it was like I was like, who is that? And it's like it's Brandon Cooks. I'm like, holy fuck, that looks like prime Brandon Cooks, you know.
And in this matchup, I'm never benching Derrick Henry. So
no, definitely not.
Yeah, no.
I mean, the Tajay Spears Derrick Henry stack is a ballsy move when you do it, but
I think he was just kind of hoping because like Tajay Spears has kind of been picking up in usage over the last couple of weeks. It seems that they're kind of starting to spell Derrick Henry a bit because I think they're starting to realize that they might not be in it, and they probably want to keep him for any value he might have in the trade market, or maybe they want to just keep him for next year if they don't offload him. But yeah, man, derelict Henry this week for sure.
Yeah.
This kid Noah Brown though was like making me nervous early in the matchup too because he was fucking ripping. It's like that Shaq meme where he's like, "I'm sorry, I was not familiar with your game."
Yeah,
this kid's good. I mean, Noah Brown is actually good.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is his year 6 season.
Yeah, he's been around.
Yeah,
he's been around. Like, and I mean, also beneficiary of Nico Collins not being in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just him and Tank Dell.
Yeah, definitely benefited from injury in this one, but like. You know, performances like this, 8 for 7 and 172 yards. And he's got CJ Stroud, rookie phenom, throwing him the ball.
And it's the second week in a row he's done this with being the number one in that offense.
Yeah, they played Tampa Bay last week and Carolina the week before. Like they've had a run of like really questionable defenses, and like I was saying earlier, Cincinnati's really chippy. Like they're a chippy defense. It's a bend don't break style defense. A lot of talent there, but like they give up a lot of yards. So yeah, and then they play Arizona, Jacksonville, and then Denver, and then CJ Stroud is just gonna feast on these teams. Except for maybe Denver might be a little bit challenging, but.
Denver's starting to turn it on.
Yeah.
Denver will give him problems because they don't have a run game.
And they got Pat Surtain.
It's at Denver, which is always tough because of the.
Oh no, no, it's gonna be in Houston.
Oh, is it gonna be?
Yeah, it's a home game.
Okay.
But still, they got Pat Surtain.
They have like a good secondary, and they don't have a run game, so they can't like rely on that to bail them out. Like, because you can. Like, I mean, yesterday you saw James Cook, even with like the 2 fumbles he had, plus like Mush Allen, still destroy that defensive line.
Right.
Like he was just running over them.
All right, you guys.
Yeah, that was pretty much all I had for you guys this week. Looking at next week, let's just really quickly look at the matchups here. And pick out the ones that we think are going to be really good. So we got Danny and John. That'll be interesting because they got the same record. That's going to be like a playoff push style game. That's going to be good. Couples matchup. Man. We got Ben and Matt. That'll be interesting. And then you're playing Casey.
Yeah, Casey, Trevor. If you want Tyson Badgett, dude, just holler at me, bro.
And I'm playing Kelsey, and I've got a bunch of bye situations happening, so this is going to be interesting. Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. I think I think we went a little bit over on this one, but we had a lot to talk about. I think some good conversations. But yeah, Defense wins championships. Don't forget.
Steve sucks.
Fuck you guys. Sorry about the technical difficulties in the middle with my fucking HDMI cable dying.
Yeah, that's fine. Just don't let it happen again, Steve.
Fucking technology, man. How can I know
Later.
cables
Later.
die?